All right. Looks like we're live. Yes, we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, all right. Welcome, everybody. I'm gonna take this opportunity to tag everybody in Discord real quick. But actually, no, wait, you what? You go ahead, tag us and tag everybody, add everybody in both in your server and my server, so everybody knows we're here.
Yeah, there we
Anyway,
go.
thank you guys for joining us. Hello, good evening. Hi, John.
Howdy. Sorry, I'm doing as
Yeah,
you
multitask.
requested.
Yeah, well, thank you. Wonderful. So we are tonight. I wanted to talk to somebody who kind of knows what he's talking about the subject of evangelical purity culture. Um, and John, you can fill in your expertise when you're done doing what I asked you to. Thank you very much. Um, but because I have never been too knowledgeable about the subject, I've kind of heard of it in passing. I've heard lots of people sort of whine and complain about it, most of whom I don't have much reason to trust. And so I've always been kind of skeptical about all of the negative claims, but John says it's bad too, and I can kind of trust John
Mhm.
about these sorts of things. So I want to go through and kind of chat about it a little bit. We're gonna briefly talk about this video up here, which is the one that I linked in the description, the one from the title. Hannah Cox interviewing Josh Harris, who is the "I kissed dating goodbye" guy who later sort of repented of his book and purity after deconstructing. So don't look like that. I don't. I when I say he repented of his purity, I don't necessarily mean he went on to be some kind of whore. I mean that he look. I don't know the guy's personal
Okay,
history. I don't know. I know. I don't want to presume that.
because I actually do know a little bit. He divorced his wife and is a sodomite now.
Okay, good to know. Well, shit. I didn't know that. Good to know. All right. Well, that
At least that's what I
contextualizes
remember.
that. If
At
that
least
is
what I
true, if
remember.
true, that contextualizes some things. Anyway, yeah.
He
Well,
might
let's.
be. He might go both ways.
Okay.
Normal. He might have two sexualities: normal and sodomite. Default and wrong.
He's, he's got a dimmer switch kind of thing going on, yeah. Um, so to speak. Anyway, so yeah, John, give us a little blurb on your uh, any background that you might have as to this purity culture thing and why I should know what I don't know about the subject.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect to start here. I thought we were just gonna do the video.
And just briefly, just kind of like tell me why you know
Yeah.
about the subject. That's all.
Well, I grew up evangelical, so this was like
Mhm.
kind of just we had a lot of these kind of talks and stuff growing up. It'll make more sense in the context of when we get started when
Okay.
they start criticizing
Okay.
in that context. Um,
Just going into more of specifics, because
yeah,
like I said,
yeah.
my only interaction with purity culture is
Hmm.
through secular mass media.
Hmm.
Because I grew up Catholic, and
Right.
my assumption I was more taught, what would you say,
Hmm.
that here's what you ought to do and here's what you ought not to do, and that that doing it the right way is the smart thing to do, and also that God
Hmm.
wants you to do it that way because it's the smart thing to do, and
Right.
that's kind of the sum total of what I learned in terms of purity and chastity
Hmm.
and all that. I didn't even get
Right.
into all of the like theology of the body details until I started researching it on my own. It was really
Hmm.
straightforward and not at all this kind of obsessive and repressive kind of thing that I get the impression purity culture has been all about.
Yeah, there's varying degrees of it. It depends a lot on like region and which of the sub denominations of American evangelicalism you fall into. I think the Pentecostals have it the worst.
Interesting. Okay.
So uh, growing up in Denver, which is a more excuse me, I'm sorry, I've got gunk in my throat.
Oh, me too. So the audience is gonna have to deal with it.
We're just like the whole stream.
If you saw my last my live stream on Tuesday, I managed to mute myself a lot. I
uh,
don't have that hotkey ready now, so I apologize. I'm gonna turn away from the microphone as best I can.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
drink
Growing
more of
up
my
in
Greek
Denver,
coffee.
and my mother, she started out when, like, before I hit my teens. She started out like being more purity culture, but she kind of eased off as we got older, so it wasn't as bad. Um, Imp Simp, there's two P's in my name. Sheppard. You can literally see it. I typed in the chat. Sorry, got distracted. Yeah. So like for me, it's not as bad, but I've seen it like go horribly awry. And it seems to impact women harder than the dudes, but that might just be because we're kind of men in general tend to be a bit better at long suffering. No worries, I'm simp. I'm sorry, I'm being silly.
There's mine.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so in the chat, which I'm going to be a little less attentive to because I've got multiple monitor sets going on here to try and get the watch together thing to work. But Baze mentions purity culture coming from bitter lapsed Catholics. That's not actually something I'm too familiar with. I haven't.
Yeah, I'm with
that.
you. Like, this to me is a uniquely evangelical phenomenon. Like, even as like moving into the Lutheran Church, nobody talks about it at all.
Yeah, and I mean, I now that said, I hear plenty of stuff from bitter ex-Catholics dealing with pelvic issues. That's all over the place. But the term purity culture and a lot of the sort of buzzwords and terminology and the alleged unique trauma of purity culture does seem to me to be pretty exclusively evangelical.
Yeah.
Now, if you will recall a previous watch together conversation that John and I had that time with Adam, with a certain gay ex-trad, well, that matches with the whole
I remember that
lapsed resentful Catholics thing. So,
does purity culture stem from that ancient from the ancient Jewish purity laws?
I don't think so.
No, it really is a uniquely like American evangelical phenomenon. I don't even think like super evangelicals outside the United States. I could be wrong, because there are evangelical church, like, I would put them theologically under the umbrella of what I call American evangelicalism, which would just be contemporary, modern, low church Protestant, whatever you want to call it.
Pseudo-Baptists.
Yeah, pseudo, like kind of that Baptist thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the same.
Yeah, and I would say that it's like maybe, I don't know, maybe there's an element of Judaizing there because there tends to be a lot of that in evangelicalism too, but I don't think so. I think that the whole purity thing, I think it, honestly, from what I know of the history, I think it does almost exclusively stem from the guy who's being interviewed in this video, from Josh Harris. Because he wrote this book in the, I think, the late 80s, very early 90s or something like that. We'll find out. They're going to talk about it.
It was the 90s.
Was it? Maybe.
Purity culture does predate.
Right. Well, I mean, like Footloose.
I think it's...
An example my wife used in making fun of it in Discord was Footloose. Mm-hmm. That is basically just the, I don't know, the older, sort of just a different reactionary version of what we would call purity culture now. I think it's more or less the same kind of thing. The fun is, dancing is fun and fun is sin, kind of thing.
Baptists hate premarital sex because it leads to dancing.
I think I've heard that before, but that's a very good one.
It's just perfectly timed for the stream.
I think Augustine said that.
It's forever going to be ingrained.
I am kidding this time. I know
you're kidding this time.
Augustine, actually, if I recall, doesn't have any problem with dancing.
Because Augustine's not an idiot.
No, correct.
Little crazy, cranky old man sometimes, but
he was a little bit anti-sexual later on, but
yeah,
that's also okay. Sorry. Side note: I have to go on a very small tangent here, so forgive me, and then we'll actually get to the video. Augustine went crazy at some point. Partway through his writing career, he encountered the mad monk Pelagius and the Pelagian heresy, and he got really pissed about it. and he basically dedicated the rest of his career to revising his old works, recanting a bunch of things that he used to say, which were completely reasonable and completely orthodox, that sounded like they might have some tangential relation to Pelagianism or could be used to support Pelagianism. And late in his career, that's when, for example, very late Augustine is most of what Calvinists will cite when they say, well, Augustine was basically a proto-Calvinist.
Yeah.
Well, yes, when he went senile and started yelling at the Pelagians for no apparent reason, that's when he was a proto-Calvinist. Sure. Bonaventure said as much. Basically, he went to extremes in his arguments against the Pelagians because he went mad. Which actually kind of do hold to. Anyway, that was a tangent.
Let's go to the video.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's see. I skipped the very, very brief introduction here. And then we're gonna jump into it. I have to keep this full screen, so if anybody, John, if you see anything interesting in chat, feel free to bring it up too. Let's see.
Nowadays. But while the mainstream culture was exploding during this decade, so was a countercultural one. Christianity was going corporate in the 90s. For every Britney Spears, there was a Rebecca St. James on Christian radio. For every plaid shirt sold at Hot Topic, there was a WWJD bracelet finding a wrist. Evangelicalism was ascendant. It was fueled by megachurches and purity pledges and Christian rock bands. There was this huge booming industry of books and conferences and magazines and merch aimed squarely at teens like me. And it was an era that tried and I think somewhat successfully worked to make religion cool. There was this blend of moral conservatism and very market-savvy branding that made faith feel both rebellious but also righteous. And growing up in this world, everything was about drawing lines between us and the world, right? We're constantly talking about what the world was doing and how we were different, and really using a lot of metrics like purity versus sin or faithfulness versus fallenness to mark that. For a long time, I've referred to this sort of brand of Christianity that I grew up in, which is the dominant one in American culture, as Evangelical Inc. And Evangelical Inc. is marked by many things that I want to talk about today, but within the culture of it, there's always been this huge prioritization around modesty and gender roles and the idea that America's moral survival depends on sexual purity and submission to traditional values, which are interestingly enough themes that we're starting to see re-enter the cultural conversation amongst conservatives these days. As a home
Okay, so the what do you think of her connection to today? What do you think of this? Is that you knowing a little bit more about this this kind of evangelical purity culture? Do you see any echoes in the sort of trad wife thing, or in the opposition of the church to the world that we kind of see more of? Any of that, or is this just like Hannah Cox of Reason magazine being a bit of a libertine and being afraid of the church? Because I think it might be that.
Yeah, this is way different because she's probably referring more to the manosphere. Like the trad wife thing's more of an aesthetic LARP.
Right. It's cottagecore for
for the 1950s, and I like that's fine. Yeah. Enjoy it. If you like the trad wife thing, go for it. Don't care.
Yeah.
There's also if we're talking more manosphere side, there is it's worse than purity culture, the manosphere, because it's it's one-sided purity culture. It's like purity for women only. There's no like call for men to be chaste,
right? Which I do think is. Now, you did mention that purity culture seemed to be worse on women, but I don't.
Yeah,
I never got the impression that was because there was a double standard present, but rather just because of the different psychological effects and how it was marketed, right?
Yeah. Inspiring Philosophy had some interviews forever ago.
If you find it, send it to me after the fact. I'll put it in the description.
Yeah. With some authors of the book. This was back when he was an evangelical, before he moved into a more historical tradition.
I still have no idea what he is. So, and he likes it that way. So I'm not even gonna speculate.
Yeah. I won't say anything.
Respect.
Yeah. Yeah, he interviewed two authors of a book called like The Great Sex Rescue. And it's mostly in the way that purity culture was communicated to young women. I think that was really not productive, is the big thing. I just got into a lot of trouble with this on Twitter. I was saying that like the guys got to stop spurging so much online if they want women to vote conservative.
Yeah, I agree.
Like spurging is just horrible antisocial behavior, and women don't like that. And everyone's like, "No, women need to like." Blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, you can say that, but like, you can't control women.
Right.
You can't change female nature, and women process things differently, and you actually like, the married guys, if there's any in the chat, and like you communicate to your wife differently than you communicate to the bros. Right.
I don't call her a
Like-
faggot nearly as much as I do you.
Why does everyone keep calling me that? I sucked a cock. I sucked a cock one time. Oh, I've killed him. I've killed him with
Damn it, you
humor.
got me. All right.
It's one time.
Oh, jeez.
For clarity's sake, 0 times.
Right.
0
Well,
times
see,
is
that's the thing. That right there is not how intersexual communication works, and that is not even how intrasexual female communication works. Like, not at all. And so, when we do stuff like that, the men in the audience, which is most of the audience, let's be real.
Yeah.
Not all. I occasionally have a woman viewer.
We've got one of our favorite Canuckastanis. She's in there now.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, is she? Hello. Hi, Grace. I didn't see you there. Yeah, so that is not... That kind of thing is just... That's just male communication. But I can see that being that kind of banter being women taking exception to it, let's say. Which, I mean, like, a couple of examples here I'll point to that I think are, like, to your point about men need to stop spurging out if they actually want to, find a wife. One, the Young Republican group chat thing. Remember this? Like a week or two ago?
I know one of those kids. He's a good dude, and I'm still livid that he lost his job.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by him being a good dude, because that just sounds like, honestly, from what I've seen of it, that just basically sounds like any all-male group chat.
Yeah.
Like that's just how young men communicate with each other, and always have. I'm not convinced that this is even a new phenomenon, a Gen Z thing. No, this is just how young men have talked to each other. Like, if you were in the trenches of World War One.
Oh, it'd be the worst then.
Oh yeah,
because like
soldiers
are like the worst at that kind of stuff. And
Oh,
soldiers, spawners, anybody who deals with the darkness and death of the world regularly, those guys are the edgiest dudes out there.
Mm-hmm. Or like, that picture, that iconic photo of the guys all sitting with their lunch pails on the I-beam on top of like the Empire State Building or whatever they were building. Guarantee you, if you heard what they were saying, though, that would not be an iconic photo. It would get 100% canceled by modern. I was going to say culture, but women. Women in general, not even just modern women.
Yeah, one of the this is kind of an aside, but one of the reasons I think one of the dividing things that's kind of like driving the loneliness crisis and the division between the sexes, that people behave online as if it's a single sex space for their sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So women try to police, because women police each other a lot, but they don't actually police men all that much because they can't. We have a monopoly on hard power.
Yeah,
and they have different ways of trying to police us. Right.
We have no hard power online.
That's true. That's true. We have
and so that's a weird.
There is no hard power online.
Exactly. Well, there is.
Well,
that's not true. There is.
That's true.
But it's exercised in a soft way, which is bizarre.
But
I'm
online,
talking about I'm talking about banning and reporting and things like that, which is roughly the online equivalent of hard power.
That's fair. But like offline, women have no hard power, so they behave very differently around men. Because if like you try to bully a guy,
piss off the wrong guy, and that's absolutely reasonable. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, I'm a fairly fit guy. I go to the gym a lot. I don't mean to be rude, but I see the fit ladies working out, and the strongest of them is doing less than half of what I lift, and I'm not the strongest guy in the gym. But online, again, people behave as if they're in a single sex space. So a guy interacting with a woman online, he's gonna treat her like a man, and women really hate that. Yeah, it's just not how they are.
A few factors kind of contribute to that. One is just you don't see each other.
Right.
Especially on Twitter, where everything is behind usernames and usually like anime pictures, right? Or whatever. I'm one to talk, right?
Or pictures of Jeanne d'Arc.
Right. So, you've got Joan of Arc over here talking with Crusader Pepe, and it's hard to tell who you're talking to, right?
I'm sorry, I have so many like at joke names going through my head.
Exactly who I'm talking about.
It's
which
like
10,000 males I'm talking about here when I say Crusader Pepe.
It's like witchy Lesbo versus
exactly
witchy Lesbo versus
but that's the thing is
Lover
witchy Lesbo could be literally anyone. That could be a man, that could be a woman, that could be a bot.
Yeah.
Right. And so as far as our psychology goes, that's indistinguishable. When you're in person talking to a woman, that's very distinguishable. That's in your face. That's really obvious. You're gonna act differently, right?
Yeah.
It's another factor of the sort of online anonymity thing, but in a really specific context, right? So that's a factor of it. The other is that I think there's a problem that the internet and the openness of the internet lifts the veil between men and women. Right?
Yeah.
Male single-sex spaces have always been a certain way. Female single-sex spaces have always been a certain way. We didn't used to know that. Right?
We
and
probably
even if we knew it in theory,
they were different.
I mean, we knew it was different, but we didn't know what it was. Right?
Yeah,
Men of previous generations had no idea what women talked about when they were alone. Women of previous generations had no idea what men talked about when they were alone. And if they ever got a glimpse of it, both sides would panic about it. Right? Men would just immediately assume that the women were up to something and that them and all of their friends were about to be divorced. Right? Whereas women, if they heard men talking, would immediately, I don't know, call HR or something. Right? Whatever it is.
Would immediately assume we all hate each other and want each other
that
dead,
too.
Even though they're our best friends and we die for each other.
That too, right? But these are there was a mystique there that is absolutely gone. Because even if we are in single-sex spaces online, one tiny little leak of the group chat, one guy who shows his wife or girlfriend, hey, here's what's his name said the other day, right? Like, just that expectation of insularity is just gone, and I think that is in large part damaging intersexual relationships by a lot.
Yeah,
especially at a casual level.
I think it's harder for women to adapt to than men, because men will just see the single sex space of the female and just like ignore it, like okay, and just move on because I got things to do.
That's
women,
true. That's true.
It's just not. It's just like because women are social creatures and they're very high context, right? Yeah. They pack a lot of meaning into their words.
There's something about this that I'll give a very specific example of this. In our Discord server, there is a men only thread chat room and there is a female only chat room. As an admin, I technically have access to both. I don't go into the women chat, so don't worry, ladies. You're safe. But there have been times when Erica has shown me something and like, hey, look what I was saying to woman. I'm not going to name names or anything. And I'll read it. And I'm like, wow, you guys are having deep conversations. And I'll pull up the men's chat and show her something, and she's like, this is just the memes channel, but offensive. What's wrong with you guys? Because it is. It's just. That's it. That's what goes on, really.
Yeah.
But
well, the way.
Yeah, women are having real conversations, but in a uniquely feminine way. Men are goofing off and playing with each other. Right? We're just goofing around and having fun, where we can just sort of go and do our own thing over there. Right? That's a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I put it is, men are naturally antisocial, and antisocial doesn't mean you don't hang out with friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using it in a more sociological sense.
Okay.
Where it just means like that's the edgy behavior, the jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Gotcha.
Men are naturally more antisocial, and they're very low context in how they speak relative to their culture. Right. Like if you live in a high context culture, you're going to speak very high context, but probably still lower context than the women. Women are very pro-social and they're very high context. They pack a lot of meaning into their words, like the classic "I'm fine," which means she's fine. It also means she's very pissed at you and you're about to die.
Or might not. It really depends.
It's true. Yeah. But they do mean they're fine, but they also mean they're upset at the same time.
They're not lying. There's more to it.
Yeah, it's high context.
This goes to the conversation that the server has been having, like, almost violently, about the Sydney Sweeney interview from a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been violently.
Yeah. Well, not violent, but violent as far as Discord conversations go. We've
I don't
been
even feel like it's never mind.
we've been disagreeing a bunch. Is the idea? We've been
That's fair,
like throwing around all kinds of interpretations about what was going on here, like the degree to which this is intersexual competition, the degree to which this was a deliberate attack, the degree to which this was a simple misunderstanding due to a lack of context on the interviewer's part, like all kinds of things going on here that on the surface, she was asked a question and she just said, nah, don't really have anything to say about it. It's that simple. Now, if that conversation had gone on between two men, that's all it would have meant. It really just would have meant, I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
Right? But if a man were in Sydney Sweeney's position and were confronted about something they'd said, they probably just would have said, I said what I said, suck my dick, or whatever, right? It would have escalated to an actual confrontation. And that's, again, a radical difference between how these things go, but it's the same thing going on, just, very different context, with different language.
What did you miss? Grace, sorry.
Hello.
She said, okay, fill me in TLDR style. I've missed this. Did you miss the Sydney Sweeney drama in the Discord server?
Yeah, it's been popping off in the politics channel, in the memes channel.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple of them even in the media channel here and there.
I think so.
Just because it's on a bunch of different subjects.
Yeah. Female Discord for months. I paid 10 to get into. I've read horrible things. Wait, hold on. What?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, don't
do that.
Okay, yeah. Grace does confirm that she's missing the Sydney Sweeney drama. Okay. Sydney Sweeney was interviewed by a woman about her jeans ad. And
to be fair, the interview was not about that. The interview was just a broad general interview. Fair. The subject came up.
Okay, yeah, I think it was like she was doing press for her next season of Euphoria or whatever.
I think so.
Anyway, a older, more homely in the American sense, interviewer asked her about the jeans ad, and Sydney Sweeney gave her a death glare and said, if you want to know my opinions about a political thing, you'll know about my opinions. Like, I'll say it. I won't be shy.
Like, when I have something to say, I'll say it, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I can say about it.
The funniest thing was the interviewer was talking about some photo of Sydney Sweeney in a push-up bra, and Sydney Sweeney replied with, no, that's just my boobs. And you could just see the...
Oh, no. See, that's...
Yeah.
I didn't see that part.
Yeah.
That is with Sweet Vengeance, apparently.
Yeah, Carl covered it in Lotus Eaters this morning. It's really funny.
I'm not going to miss that one. Okay.
Yeah, well, I watch it every morning. I'm a premium subscriber. I should actually upload gold tier comments, but I don't. Yeah, that's really all of it. It's just clearly like a very attractive young woman who's very high status versus a somewhat homely super progressive woman being kind of mad about it, probably.
Right. And I mean, a lot of the debate and the discussion has been, to what degree are those various factors significant?
Yeah.
To what degree is it that she is less attractive? To what degree is it that she's older? To what degree is it that she's lower status? To what degree is it that she is she's liberal and a sort of, I get the impression, a default, not very deep thinking political left type thing. Just the kind of, of course everyone's a leftist. It's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I could use that as an example of women trying to use like what we would call soft power to police each other, right? Because the way she frames the whole jeans question is like it's very leading.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like, are you going to admit that this is white supremacy? And then Sydney Sweeney pretty artfully charges it. Yeah, exactly. Like this is white supremacy, and if you agree with me, you get out of this situation. We won't have to police you.
I don't want to go into
details. You can be
pro-social
with us.
It's it's an even deeper rabbit hole. But there's a lot of that that I've been seeing with Candace Owens. So
I don't want to touch Candace.
Both what she has been talking about and how people deal with her, and there's a lot. She is a very almost prototypical example of feminine online drama.
Yeah,
but on the right.
She's always been kind of catty.
Yeah.
And,
oh yeah. fascinating to
And Blair
watch,
White.
but for another discussion.
It's not for me. I stay away from Candace drama.
I'm just, there are things I'm fascinated about. Like,
That's fair.
I'd love to be sued by the president of France.
That's fair.
That's a badge of honor.
That'd be pretty funny. That'd be pretty. The president of France's wife. I don't even think the lawsuit actually, like, because it's a defamation lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think that the actual like defamatory statement they're suing over is that Candace called her a dude.
It's not.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's something else. It has to do with her claims about identity theft and using her sister's identity or something like that. Anyway, yeah, whatever. We're getting way sidetracked. We were talking about purity culture, I think, if I remember right. We went off on a tangent about men and women because, of course, you do.
It's kind of important. I mean, it's relevant. Like, it does help understand, like, because it's gonna, when I explain why it would hit women so much harder, knowing that women are higher context in how they receive, because it's not just in how they how they communicate to others, it's also how they receive communication. Like, again, you marry gentlemen, or you gentlemen with sisters will know this. Your female compatriots interpret. They add a lot of meaning to your words that you did not intend, because women are high context and men are low context.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it'll be important. That's how we got on the sidetrack.
Well, I mean, Erica has to tell me when I've been insulted sometimes.
Yeah.
I won't catch it.
That's amazing.
Legit, I won't catch it. Because I don't...
Awesome.
1,
fantastic.
Low context. 2, don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
I've always been that sort of thing. I've always been like that, though. But that's not just a masculine thing. That's also partially me.
Yeah. I
don't care if someone's insulting me. Good for them. They're wrong. Who cares?
I've noticed that as I've like gotten physically stronger and like my testosterone's gone up and I've become more disagreeable. I don't care. It's just like, okay, have that opinion. I don't care.
Anyway, all right, let's keep going. Let's see what Hannah has to say.
Homeschooled Southern Baptist preacher's daughter, I had a front row seat to all of this. And like most of my peers, I also got my true love weights ring around 8th grade, which is so creepy and weird in hindsight, but it happened. And I owned and read.
Okay, hold on. Why is that weird? Please tell me.
I don't know.
That seems kind of reasonable to me.
I actually don't know. This is a criticism I don't get. Like, I think she's just...
Is it that she is associating sex and sexuality with 8th grade?
Wait, I guess.
Maybe?
I don't know. That element of it wasn't like, there were purity rings. There were like promises that people would make, which were they're probably a little ill-advised.
Right.
Purity rings are like whatever. The purity rings were a little weird, mostly because you'd wear them on your ring finger, or your wedding ring finger.
That is a little odd.
Yeah, it's like and it's supposed to be like a promise that you're waiting for your.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see what's weird with that. Like, okay, let me put it this way. Like, the only criticism I've ever actually seen articulated, and she does not, to my knowledge, as far as I remember from this video, I only watched it through once and pretty quickly. So we might discover some new things. I might be reminded of something. As far as I know, she doesn't actually criticize this directly. She just kind of says, kind of weird. But the only thing I ever hear directly that's wrong or weird about like purity rings or purity promise pledges or whatever is that it is introducing the concept of sexuality and making a sexual vow, I mean a non-sexual vow, but a vow in the context of sex and sexuality at an inappropriately young age and in the context of family. Because usually it involves, it's something that your parents might give you or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Said contra. Most kids start learning sex ed in public school in like 7th or 8th grade. So, you learn to put a condom on a banana at that age. So why can't you say, I'm not going to do that? It seems normal to me.
It's all... It's doing. Our society is hell bent on treating adults like children and children like adults. It's the worst.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. I hate it.
Thanks the French and the sexual revolution.
Wait. Okay. I'll go with it. I'm on board. Blame the French.
Well, like the French had this like part of the push with like this like hyper equality view was like, I mean, it's a subconscious rationale, probably, maybe, but you know, if we're all equal, then our consent is all equal. So if this child consents,
I mean,
we all know how the French were.
yeah, we do.
The French socialists.
Wait, are you implying that they're not like this anymore? Because
No, I'm implying that they're dead because they're from the 19th century.
oh, well, because the president of France was whether you think his wife has a penis or not, she definitely groomed him as a child. So there's that. Like that's on record. Please sue me. I think it'll be really funny.
Got to turn your little eye cam on for that.
But, I mean, whether she's a man or a woman, she's a pedophile. So whatever, good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no. I don't see what's super weird about this, but I don't think she goes into detail about it. But we'll see. Anyway, I thought I would get some input on that.
I remember purity rings. I don't remember love weights or whatever. I don't see why it's that weird. Like it. Maybe don't put it on your ring, your wedding ring finger,
or just other hand, cute. Right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, yeah. Okay, so there's for example, there's the Irish or the Celtic, broadly speaking, the clodagh, the hands clasped around a heart, that ring. There's a whole thing having to do with that, which is you wear it on you switch it back and forth, right? It starts on your right hand, on your ring finger, facing out if you're single, facing in if you're seeing someone. And then if you're engaged, you switch it to your left hand, your ring finger, wedding ring finger, facing out if you're engaged, in if you're married. So there's a whole thing about it. There's a whole like ritual to it, which basically just takes the place of that, but with a couple centuries of history to it.
Yeah.
Then again, evangelicals are allergic to anything with a couple of centuries of history to it. So, whatever.
It's true.
You belong at least to a religious tradition that is older than you. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I say historic. That's why I call like the older church, the older denominations. I call them historical churches because they try to like
they maintain some continuity with history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Unlike the American evangelicals, which just spawned 5 minutes ago.
Right. And well, the only continuity with history they try and maintain is to wildly claim that they are exactly the same as the early church somehow.
It's just no.
Primitivism, essentially, which I have big problems with, but not for this discussion. I don't think, unless it comes up. Maybe it'll come up. Who knows? Anyway, let's keep going.
One of the most influential books during that movement, which was, of course, I Kissed Dating Goodbye. Now, its author, Joshua Harris, became one of the most recognizable figures of that purity culture era and evangelical Inc. His book sold over 1 million copies and became a guidebook for an entire generation of Christians. But in the year since, Josh has done something that few people ever do, which is that he publicly re-examined, apologized for, and ultimately renounced the very message and book that made him famous. I've been dying to talk to Joshua Harris since I was a little kid. Honestly, I'm so fascinated by his story and the impacts it had on my own life. So today, I'm finally getting the opportunity to sit down with him and talk about what led him to writing this book, his process of religious deconstruction, what purity culture did to an entire generation of people, and how he has worked around the impact that he has and now regrets, and ultimately what both of us have learned from growing up inside that world.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
Oh, you weren't ready for the seizure-inducing intro? Yeah, okay.
Oh, I've had too much tequila for that.
This is why I'm drinking scotch, because it is conducive to a conversation. Second's gonna lock.
Well, I also just finished a 24-hour fast like half an hour ago, so.
You broke your fast with tequila? Dude.
And a giant bowl of rice and chicken.
Okay, you know what? All right, that's fine. Something to at least to soak up the tequila in there is. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, it's the deconstruction phenomenon is a large part of what they're talking about as well, which is
it's deconstructionism. I hate it because it's lazy. Every time, every deconstruction story I read is the exact same. It's I had some doubts. I talked to Pastor Jim Bob, who couldn't answer my question,
Right.
and then I read Dawkins' The God Delusion, and then I decided I'm gay.
Yeah,
Just
which
every
I
time.
think, if I remember right, they do give pretty direct credit to the New Atheists. Kind of
I'm
what,
sure
if
they
I
do.
remember right, that's kind of what tipped Harris.
It's just so intellectually lazy.
It
Like,
is,
one,
yep.
I'm not saying don't read Dawkins
I'm saying
the
don't
God
read
Delusion.
Dawkins. You're wasting your time. He's not intelligent.
true.
There are
There are
better
better
atheists to read.
atheists.
Really.
Yeah, go if you need popular level stuff, go watch Alex O'Connor instead of anything
Oh, yeah.
Dawkins related. Dawkins
He's
is an
great.
idiot. Alex O'Connor is like actually intelligent. I really
Yeah.
like the kid.
And
Although I
he
think he's
actually
gonna become
reads the
Christian
things that
someday.
he's criticizing. He doesn't always understand them fully, but he reads the things he's criticizing, which is much more than I can say for Dawkins.
I think he's gonna become a Christian someday. I think he's too intelligent not to.
I think Dawkins might even at this point.
I hope so.
He doesn't have much time
That'd be
left. But he
amazing.
might. Yeah.
I wish Christopher Hitchens did. Christopher Hitchens is also fun. You should listen to Christopher Hitchens, not for anything philosophical, but because he's a great orator.
He is.
Really funny guy.
He is incredibly charismatic.
Oh yeah, I love him.
But, yeah.
Just rest in peace.
All right, let's keep going. Let's see.
I've been following your journey for a very long time. I was given a copy of your book as a child. My dad is a Southern Baptist minister. He was actually teaching at the seminary in Louisville during this time period. So we had a little break from being PKs, but we were still like very immersed in the culture, obviously. Sure. They didn't push it on me. Like my parents didn't make me go the full courtship route. They did think it was great. They're like, if you want to, we would fully support this. But I had the whole true love waits ceremony where my dad gave me the ring, like the whole creepy thing. We did all of that. So I've known of you for a very long time. I lost track of you for a period. And then about a year or so ago, I think I saw your appearance in Happy People on Amazon, the documentary that's focusing on a lot of the deconstruction going on around evangelical culture lately. And then I realized that you had actually made a public apology for I Kissed Dating Goodbye, your book. And I've been really interested in your journey. But I want to kind of start at the beginning, if that's okay, because I've seen a lot of talk about like where you are now, which I think is very interesting and we'll get into. But I have to assume, you write this book at age 21, right? 21? And it blows.
I will say, not to pause too much, I guess, but I will say that I've said this for a long time, and it remains true. I know more ex-evangelicals than evangelicals.
That tracks.
Most of them sort of deconstructed and did what we see here, right? Did the kind of leave Christianity because they found the version that they had wanting. And some others, such as yourself, if I remember your history correctly, deconstructed, as it were, and found some more robust and more historical version of Christianity. Whether that is, like in your case, Lutheranism or Catholicism or Orthodoxy. Orthodoxy is actually quite common. I actually know of several ex-evangelicals who are Orthodox, which I have to think is kind of like they want historic Christianity, like long history, cool liturgy stuff, but they still hate the church, the Catholic Church.
It's literally just because they can't do the Pope.
I think so, or it would be just too much for them to admit. Much to become.
I love my Eastern Orthodox bros. I love them. I can't do Eastern Orthodoxy.
Yeah,
I can't. It's soteriology is weird. I like being able to actually have answers for things.
Yeah, I've talked about this before. It's a even the Eastern Catholic Church can get like that. It's just an Eastern versus Western spirituality thing, really.
Yeah.
The whole
if I'm gonna go, like, part of the problem is like Orthodoxy and Rome have such similar views of the magisterium, as much as you can between East and West. That I guess the best way to put it is I was listening to an argument. It was a debate between an Orthodox fellow and a Catholic fellow on Matt Fradd's channel. And I'm thinking if the Orthodox fellow has since had to like scrub his socials because he got a little too eugenicist.
Oh,
which is a shame because like during the debate he was actually very polite, cordial. It was like it was a really pleasant debate to listen to. Is a Hispanic fellow who debated the Catholic position.
Sounds familiar. I think I have.
Eric something or other. Yeah. Anyway, if you're gonna have a super strong magisterium, I think the only consistent way to have a strong magisterium is to recognize the Pope. Yeah.
I think. I mean, Bishop Barron has made an argument like this very strongly that you need a singular and consistent voice. Just like you would need a referee, right? to even if only to be the final resolution of disputes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like you're going to decide democratically. You have to
Right.
have some method of finally resolving a
Mhm.
dispute. Otherwise, you will have holdouts, and then that's where you get schisms.
Yeah. That's why, like, I'm actually a lot, despite being Lutheran, I'm actually a lot like more favorable to Catholics than I am Orthodox. Like,
Mhm.
I have my reasons for being Lutheran that I won't get into now on a Catholic server or a Catholic stream, but
Yeah.
I
Which again,
I
that's not what
do
we're
find
talking about,
myself
really, but
yeah
it's
I
more
do
about.
find myself
I mean,
favoring Rome over Antioch,
yeah, and I mean,
which
dragging it back to
confuses
the
confuses people
evangelical
because, like,
point.
aren't you Lutheran?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I not to wander again too far afield to the point, but I even know plenty of not plenty of, but a couple ex-Lutherans who are Orthodox. Again, who for the very same reason were previously really low church Lutherans
Mhm.
and wanted something that was more robust. Didn't want to stick within the Lutheran tradition because they wanted a more magisterial tradition, but then also just they were afraid of the Pope, and so they went
Yeah,
east.
if you want a super strong magisterium, just like it kind of ends up where, like, the Pope actually makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Now,
I'm of the
Beza makes a
opinion
good
that the
point
only
in the
arguments,
Beza
Dirt
made a good
Poor
point.
Robin's show are making beautiful. I don't know.
Yeah, so talking just in general about the art, music,
Mhm.
that sort of thing of the East and of the Orthodox, on point, absolutely right.
That's fair.
And especially in the modern day, the Catholics, we kind of dropped the ball in the last century or two in the arts. So yeah, no, I will grant our Eastern brothers and sisters that yeah, they're excellent in terms of the arts for sure. Anyway,
Let's go back to the video.
right, go for it.
They haven't said much, unfortunately.
True.
Blows up. I mean, it sells over 1 million copies. I mean, you're
I
bigger
will
than
say, they
Ariana
don't say a whole
Grande
lot,
in
so a
terms of
lot of
sales
this
these
is
days.
just
Like, people
gonna
don't
be
sell like
us
this anymore. So
conversing.
you're thrust into the spotlight, I assume. But I'm really curious about, how did you get there? What was your childhood like? How were you at age 2021 writing a book that had this, ability to impact the culture? Like, what was your background like?
Well, I just need to say, I definitely was not bigger than Ariana Grande. I don't want that to. I don't
Just in
want
terms of
anyone
sales.
I mean, the funny thing is, I was thinking about this the other day. My kids throw around the term Nepo baby. I was definitely a Nepo baby in the evangelical world, in the sense that my dad was a very influential homeschool leader and teacher and speaker. So he, in the 80s and 90s, was traveling across the country every weekend doing his homeschooling workshops, speaking to hundreds of thousands of families over the course of that time. And so I was the kid in the illustrations. Like, I was the example of what homeschooling, could create or whatever. So I grew up around that. And then in my high school years, I really had literally a come to Jesus moment where I got serious about my relationship with God. And before that, I had been, just doing, as being as rebellious as a homeschooler can, essentially. I had like this secret girlfriend and we were messing around, and I wasn't taking seriously the things my parents were giving me to read, like Elizabeth Elliot's book, Passion and Purity. I was just kind of like, oh, brother, I don't want to deal with this. And then I had this moment where I was really convicted that this was this big part of my life that I wasn't honoring God in. I broke up with this girlfriend. I felt a lot of guilt around the things that we'd done, the promises that I had made, and so on. And so I had this moment as a 17-year-old where I wanted to give my life to serving the Lord. I was convicted. I was kind of imbibing all of this, teaching around true love waits, saving sex for marriage, and this idea that dating was actually this big distraction. And I decided to start writing and talking about this. And so I had a magazine for homeschool teens. This was like pre-social media, internet being everywhere.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this is more of something that pushed me away from evangelicalism in general, less purity culture, but I can see how it ties together. I'm trying to pick the right words. Evangelicalism is very emotional.
Yeah.
It's very feely, and there's a lot of pressure really to feel spiritual versus necessarily being spiritual.
Yeah, I get that.
And like you can see it in his bit of his story here, where he's talking about like dating this girl and I want to be on fire for the Lord. Like, yeah, it's a good thing to want. But yeah,
But you might not,
for whatever reason,
and that's fine.
Yeah. Evangelicalism is just like there's just this big emphasis on being super expressive and emotional about and really feeling spirituality. And I think that's part of why I just don't like it. Because I was never one of those, I love Jesus, hands in the air type of guys. That was, never me. And I don't always feel like, in a very emotional sense, super spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
one of the reasons I think I find the Lutheran tradition really comforting is you don't have to worry about that. I'm not sure if that's true of Rome as well.
It is. Yeah.
Okay,
so the Catholic Church has room for the
Mhm.
ultra feelsy spirituality kind of thing.
Right. I mean, so does the Lutheran. We're not anti-emotions.
We can be. It depends on which part of the church you're in, but yeah.
Very German.
Also very Dominican though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That's why it's not very different.
well, but here's the thing. Like, I have had I could probably count the number of like emotional religious experiences I've had. Every single one of them has involved the sacraments, and most of them involve the Eucharist. But like, it's not like I'm just going to church and I'm just like in it, man. No, it's like that's silly. God is in the still small voice, not in the
Right.
clamor of the storm. That whole thing, right? We recall that, right?
He's
but-
not in the piano music that's making you feel certain emotions.
Or guitar.
While the
or
pastors,
whatever.
he's not in the gentle strumming and the long held piano notes.
Yeah.
While the pastor's giving an impassioned prayer.
Yeah. See, and I have been to,
Mhm.
I've been to one evangelical. It was an evangelical Lutheran service. So I think
ELCA.
I think it was ELCA. I think it was ELCA.
My condolences.
I don't know. It was early in college. It was with some friends, and I didn't get it. In fact, I was deeply confused. I was like, "What are we doing here?" There was music and a bit of a sermon, and there was some more music, and that was it. And I was like, "Wait, that's it? What is this? What are we doing here?"
That's a contemporary service for you.
Yeah, I was deeply confused. Yeah, go ahead and read.
Baze Mitchell says Lutherans love Catholics. It's not as reciprocal. Lol. That's not actually been my experience. Most Lutherans tend to have a weird affinity for the East, which again I actually think is less consistent philosophically, and it's more about I dislike the Pope.
Yeah. No, Lutherans are, again, in my experience. Well, okay, high church Lutherans. Right? ELCA might be an exception to this, but no, actually, I don't even know. I don't even know about that. I might even push back on that. But Lutherans in general tend to be very Western, both spiritually and philosophically, just very Western.
Yes.
But don't always like the Catholic Church.
No.
Some do. Some are. Well, also, what you might mean is something similar to a lot of Anglicans I know, especially, high church Anglicans, who are just like, oh yeah, we're Catholic, but not Roman, that thing.
Right.
Which, all right, I see what you're doing there, but
Little C Catholic.
Yeah, which that's different. No, that's different. That's not what they're saying. A lot of high church Anglicans say that we are Catholic, big C Catholic. We're just not in union with Rome, right? It's branch theory. Is the I think a technical term for it, at least. But anyway, yeah, it's Catholics haven't dropped the ball to the degree of evangelicals in terms of art. Baze is talking about. Actually, they believe the ball is satanic. Evangelical too. Yeah, no, I get that.
Was he talking about the
art and music and that sort of thing? Like in terms of like making beautiful things, Catholics, I will push back on that. I do think Catholics have kind of dropped the ball on that. Just look at churches built in the last 70 odd years. They're not beautiful. Look at liturgical music written in the last century or so. Not great. Saying.
No, I don't think you heard me say it's the spirit of Vatican II.
You're right. You're not wrong. I will accept that.
I don't know that, but I just know that's a rad trap thing that they get really mad about.
My small pushback on that would be I don't think it was Vatican II's fault but one, Vatican II didn't help much, and it should have, and two, it was within the same spirit as the interpretive tradition that took Vatican II and ran in really nasty directions.
It's the nature of the subversive progressives, liberals, whatever you want to call them. If you give them an inch, they will take a mile every time.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And I think, again, going back to the interview, we'll see some of that with their because both are essentially, at least culturally speaking, progressives. Right? Because Hannah Cox is with Reason Magazine. She is a libertarian. At least broadly speaking, she's kind of a beltway libertarian, if you want to use that term, a cathedral libertarian. I don't think she's technically part of the Libertarian Party Cathedral Caucus, but she was at least more sympathetic to that than to the.
Are you suggesting she's controlled opposition?
I want to say yes, but yeah,
I think she's insufferable. I think she's insufferable.
A lot of Reason
an idiot because she's not.
Well, okay. So for those of you who don't know, and John, you might not, I don't know. The Libertarian Party, embarrassing as it often is embarrassing because of certain groups within it, and less embarrassing due to other groups. So it's basically divided into, I would say, four. There's four groups of libertarians within the party. You've got the pragmatists, who are basically your Cato Institute, Reason Magazine types, the Cathedral Caucus, as it's first jokingly called, and then they actually made an official Cathedral Caucus. They made an actual caucus within the party called the Cathedral Caucus, making fun of the courtesy Arvin, the cathedral thing.
Well, because it's like I'm assuming it's the ones that like pay lip service to libertarian philosophy, but only ever criticize things against the current state.
Yeah, and they're also like part of think tanks, and they're part of the sort of Washington insider system, right? And they think that, it being as charitable as possible, they think that the way to advance liberty is to curry favor with those in power, and to obtain power through the traditional think tanky kind of means. White papers, campaign contributions, convincing senators, that sort of stuff. So there's that. There's the pragmatists.
If they weren't like only ever criticizing one way, I think they would be right. Like, I think that kind of subversive way is not bad. That's complicated stuff for another time. Grace asks, aren't Lutherans like proto-Protestants, how we recognize it from the specifically English history of Protestantism? Lutherans are the Protestants. The English reformers came later. And
The
then
English
the
reformers,
proto-Protestants would be like the Hussites, which were even before Martin Luther.
a couple hundred years actually.
Deep. Yeah, it's deep church history stuff.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about the
Fascinating.
Hussites, watch my Kingdom Come Deliverance streams. That whole game is about the Hussite Wars. Actually, both games are basically about the Hussite Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. I assume, Baze, you're saying Gran Torino, not Gran Toronto. I assume that was typing. Yeah, Gran Torino, Shawshank Redemption, Lord of the Rings, Greek Catholic Christian art. Okay, yeah, no, okay, fine.
Gran Torino is a good movie. I really enjoyed it.
Those were all quite good, and also quite Catholic.
I don't know about Gran Torino. I'll give Shawshank Redemption. I've not seen Shawshank, but I will give Lord of the Rings because Tolkien was Catholic.
Have you seen Gran Torino?
I have, yes. I don't.
You don't think it's Catholic?
It's Christian for sure.
It's like strictly Christus Victor. It's a very.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, Bishop Barron talks about. I think actually, like, that might have been Bishop Barron's first YouTube video or something like that, or one of his first.
That's
It's
cool.
old, but he goes into a lot of detail on it. It's good. It's good.
I don't know.
Anyway, Anyway, sorry.
None of the theories of the atonement contradict each other, so I just kind of believe them all.
Another time. I have my qualms with
penal substitution.
Not per se. Forensic justification.
Okay.
Specifically, the forensic justification aspect of penal substitution. So there's one little corner of it that I have an issue with. Anyway, sorry. 4 caucuses of libertarianism. She's basically in the sort of pragmatist part. Then the other ones are the radicals, which is the guy who was dancing around in a thong. They are good on policy, let's say, but are radical for the sake of being radical. They will oppose anything that anyone says that makes any sense because someone is saying it that isn't them. Radical. Then you have the left libertarians, who are just leftists who understand that taxes are actually bad. They're political absolute leftists, but they're kind of good on economics sometimes. That's the left libertarians. That's the Chase Oliver types, the most recent candidate. Yeah, I know exactly. The one who was like chanting Black Lives Matter at the Gay Pride parade, wearing 2 masks in 2020 or whatever. That guy. And then there's finally the last quadrant, which are the Mises Caucus types, which are the good guys.
Those are the only good ones.
Yeah, we're the ones who aren't embarrassing. Because the perfect example of the pragmatist is not Hannah Cox. I mean, she is, but she also kind of leans a little bit towards the left libertarian part. The perfect example of them is what's his name? Nick Sarwark, the previous chair of the Libertarian Party, the used car salesman, probable CIA asset guy who lost the chair position to none of the above.
I remember him. I think I was still registered libertarian when that happened.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I think I was still registered libertarian and still like.
I've never registered libertarian. Florida has closed primaries. It would not be pragmatic for me to do so.
That's fair.
To borrow the term. Anyway, yeah, she Reason Magazine for the most part, and Hannah in particular, are kind of the opposite of the non-embarrassing parts of the LP.
I'm glad we went on that tangent an hour into this stream.
I know.
Let's go.
Well, we're not going to finish this, by the way. Hopefully we're having some productive conversations. I'm going to fall asleep. I'm going to finish my scotch before this is done. Technically, Loch Lomond. It's a Scotch Drambuie and vermouth. Great.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten Drambuie in a long time, so it's been a while since I've had a Loch Lomond. But it's probably my favorite cocktail, or one of. Certainly top 3. Certainly top 3. All right.
Let's go ahead and
All right, let's keep going. Oops.
And that became this platform for me to interact with all these other students across the country. I was writing articles about these ideas. I gave a speech called I Just Stating Goodbye. I was traveling across the country doing conferences, and that really blew up and became the beginning of the book. And so, that opportunity to write at such a, relatively young age and then have this response where the book was kind of seeded into churches and to communities and so on was because I had this platform of a magazine and readers who are already excited about these ideas and conferences and so on. So that was the tipping point for those ideas to spill into a more popular level where evangelicals were, buying the book and hearing about it, because this subculture of homeschoolers who had been talking about courtship for a while were the ones that spread it.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me because
the courtship aspect. How much of this are you aware of? How much of this were you kind of inculcated in?
Yeah, so this is pretty popular. It was never something that was like I personally, like my parents would have freaked out if we didn't. A decent criticism of courtship is that it's like pre-engagement.
Okay.
And it kind of takes the appropriate level of casualness out of dating that there should be, right? Like dating is not a commitment to get married. But the way they were practicing courtship in most evangelicals circles, it was basically just like, oh, they're courting, we expect you're going to get married. So it was engagement before getting engagement. It was like, no, dating's kind of okay, because like you probably should spend some time just getting to know each other without like the expectation that you're going to get married. Like you're figuring things out.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, because my assumption was that it wasn't so much a kind of jumping to the finish line, so to speak, jumping straight into the pre-engagement thing.
It basically was. It really was.
Okay, because my assumption with it, and I would say that the whole courting thing. Okay, here's my defense. Tell me where I'm wrong, because I assume I'm wrong.
Well, it's
from what everyone says.
It's probably because you're thinking of how the medievals courted each other.
I am.
That's not what this was.
Well, not exactly, but I'm thinking about how lower class medievals courted each other, not nobility. That's very different. So my thought is, you date, if you will, In other words, you just get to know people in a non-romantic context. You find someone who you have some romantic interest in through a kind of sub-dating process. You think of it, you can like maybe go on dates or whatever to get to know each other. But what I always assumed this whole courting trend was not so much just jumping straight to engagement, but bypassing the going steady phase, to borrow a term from years ago. That you go, okay, I'm finding somebody, I have some romantic interest, we should enter into a courtship, which is essentially, to use Catholic terms, a discernment process, to discern whether we are appropriate to marry one another or not. And then the courtship ends either in an engagement or a breakup. And there is and it has that end of discernment in mind, rather than as a steady state. Right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense as far as, even if that's not exactly what courtship is in his terms or their terms? Does that make sense at least? As to why I might think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think.
What's missing?
Because you were basically saying that it's just skipping
the boyfriend girlfriend part, basically.
Right.
I can see I can absolutely see an appeal to that. Basically the idea of the way that our culture, the way I would kind of contextualize this to give it the most charitable reading possible, which is probably not how it's actually done in purity culture, and maybe that's a problem. But the big problem that I can see this addressing in modern secular culture is that we have this idea that you can have a girlfriend, and that is just a steady state, and that's not necessarily going anywhere, right? There should be an end goal to, call it dating, call it courtship, I don't care, call it what you want. But the process of getting to know one another romantically, it should be for the purpose of discerning marriage or not. Right? And if you're not doing that, then what are you doing? Right? That's where I think that there is room to sort of kiss dating goodbye, if you want to use the term. But I also, apparently, that's not how this was actually done in practice.
It was, it probably was that for some families. Like it, part of the thing is there's a level of informality to it. Evangelical culture doesn't have a very rigorous intellectual side to it.
Yeah,
it's very emotional. Right. Very like you're really just supposed to intuit things emotionally. So for the ultra conservative families, it just became engagement before engagement. You're courting now, okay, well you're gonna get married, right? And it's like you give the kids, to give them a moment to like get to know each other and chill.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. I mean, it especially makes sense in terms of sort of the lack of a rigorous intellectual dimension. The way I was thinking of this, now maybe I'm being uncharitable here, but the way I was thinking of this involves thinking in terms of teleology and planning ahead for things and stuff like that. Things that require, I don't know, rational abstraction.
Yeah, evangelicalism's kind of weird because there are really, 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 really intelligent evangelicals. Like genuinely super intelligent,
I know
brilliant people. Yeah. But like for whatever reason, there's like it's just a more niche thing within the broader culture itself. Right? Like moving to the Lutheran Church, most of the Lutherans that I talk to are actually like relatively clever, or they're practicing medieval piety. But they do seem to actually have there's a little more thought behind like why they believe what they believe compared to like evangelicals. Evangelicalism tends to be just the Bible.
Right. I like to quote
And even then,
colleague
they
of
haven't
mine.
that much about the Bible.
I like to quote a colleague of mine. Actually, this is I'll see if I can put a link to this video in the description, because it was a talk that a colleague of mine gave years ago, where he was talking about faith and reason and the application of reason to faith, right? And he grew up in the Bible Belt. He grew up in Alabama, I think. I could be wrong. And so the way he described it was, when you say reason, evangelicals will either assume that you mean denying faith, or reason meaning taking bits of scripture and putting them in some kind of order to say something. Those are the two things you could mean by reason.
Right.
And never the two shall meet kind of thing.
Yeah. Evangelicalism is weird. It's got this weird bifurcation between like super touchy-feely people and like really intelligent people, but like they just don't interact a lot for whatever reason. I mean, like my evangelical friend circle now is more of the intel, like the rigorous intellectual types. Because it's just, I live in Phoenix. The bulk of the Christians here are evangelical.
And I've known some pretty intellectual evangelicals. Most of them are not evangelicals anymore. That's
I do know. Yeah, I do know one. His dad was the pastor at my friend's church, and he was an adjunct professor at Denver Seminary. I don't know where he's at now. As far as I'm aware, he's still evangelical. He's probably the pastor at his dad's church.
Okay,
that's probably his full-time job now. Really cool dude. Knows his church history. Like that's where I learned. I took a church history class that he hosted for his church. It was really interesting. So yeah, evangelical is just weird like that. Like half of it's touchy-feely, half of it's super intelligent, like super intellectual and academic, and for whatever reason they just never intersect.
Yeah, and I will say, like for example, the Catholics have the kind of feelsiness too sometimes.
Oh yeah,
but it's niche. You kind of have to look in the wrong places to find it. You have to dig under the wrong rocks.
You have to go to the right church in the middle of like a super blue state.
No. Blue City.
Okay.
Fair. Yeah. I say this out of experience because Erica's RCIA program, RCA at the time, what is now OCIA, basically the classes to become Catholic, were incredibly feelsy and contained almost no rigorous intellectual discussion or doctrine or much of anything like that. It was more or less the various RCA candidates, those who practically speaking know nothing about the faith, taking turns saying how they felt about today's readings.
Doesn't mean anything. I don't care how you feel
about
it.
No, it doesn't. And she was endlessly frustrated, and so she listened to the entire back catalog of Catholic Answers.
Yeah,
literally.
That's a better use of your time. If you're going to become Catholic, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, actually, or a good OCIA program. There are such things.
I like Mr. Egan. I disagree with him on a lot of things, but I like him.
Who?
Jimmy Egan.
Oh no, he's fantastic.
I like that
guy. I disagree with him on a couple of things. It's been known to happen, but
yeah, it happens.
Yeah, we can have harsh disagreements.
Yeah,
I've always said that I'd love to see a conversation between him and David Bentley Hart.
I don't know
he's a great Orthodox theologian. His big issues that I think we ought to disagree with him on are one, he is a universalist, not a universalist. A universalist. He believes in apokatastasis, that is the universal salvation of all men and angels, by the end.
Okay.
And the other thing is he's
like Origin style.
Yes, very much so.
Okay,
quotes Origin a lot. And the other thing is he has
that's what I hope is the case.
He has terminal Trump derangement syndrome. So he steered wildly in the sort of left-wing socialist direction after Trump was elected. He'd always been a little bit lefty, a little bit like soft socialist thing, but he went wildly off the deep end 8-9 years ago. That's unfortunate, but if we keep it to interesting theological topics, the two of them, because he's also brilliant and was one of the best voices against the new atheists back 15-20 years ago. So that would be a fascinating conversation between the two of them. Anyway, all right, let's get back to it and see what else they have to say. See what more we can see if there are any other jumping off points for us, huh?
I, as a child, observed, and as I've aged, I've continued to observe the ways the two fields I've been very closely related to, both politics and religion, often use kids as props to like advance their messages, right? They really love to have a kid come in and preach. And I wonder, like, what are your feelings about that? Do you feel like that was pushed upon you by your parents? Because you were a little ahead of me in terms of like age. I think you were
still has those evangelical instincts of how does that make you feel?
Let her go. I need to know how old
let's
he
keep
was, because I think her points kind of move, because I'm pretty sure he was an adult when he was doing all this stuff.
When he wrote the book, he was 21.
Yeah, he's an adult. What are you talking about, Hannah?
Well, okay, going back a bit, he's talking about when he was growing up. He was a homeschool kid, and his father did like homeschool programs thing. Like he did talks about it, and he brought him along to use as like the example homeschool kid kind of thing. That's what they're talking about specifically.
Okay. Never mind. Carry on.
Which, by the way, I did want to kind of say something about that it seems to me that the whole point of homeschooling is to not do that. Like really specifically not do that. Like the whole point of homeschooling is direct one-to-one, like hands-on interaction between parents and kids, or maybe small group of adults and small group of kids, and not have talks with, dozens of thousands of people and drag your kid through it. Like, whatever. I don't know.
Unless your surname is Thunberg.
I don't get it. Anyway. Sorry.
Greta Thunberg?
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I just pronounce her name the American way and say Thunberg.
I'm too pedantic for that.
Kyle Rittenhouse's OTP. Moving on.
You're not quite 10 years older than me, but I really inherited like the...
You didn't know they share a birthday? They share a birthday. I 100% ship them.
What the fuck?
Do you not ship them?
Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Whatever, dude. I don't want to think.
They have the same birthday. They have polar opposite political perspectives.
He can fix her.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's a very fixable girl. So many people.
It was up and going. How much of that was, already being pushed upon you, and how much of it do you feel like you and others that were your counterpoints at that time were like the drivers of it?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, so many things that you just said really resonate with me. Number one, I think it's so interesting how even like a 10-year gap in age can create a completely different context that you're growing up in. I mean, we talk about this. It feels like we talk about this even more today with the generations, because we're so hyper aware of all the generations, and like different generations, like different memes and, all those kinds of things. But, the world that my book helped to create, I didn't even experience in the same way that you did, because I got married like, a couple years after I wrote the book. I was a pastor. I was raising a family. I wasn't experiencing the dating scene and the ways that evolved. In other words, like even the purity ceremony with a ring, like I never did anything like that. Like that wasn't my jam, but that's associated with, this world that's sort of kind of snowballed into lots of different things. And then the other thing that I think is really fascinating is that the point that you make about...
Briefly, I feel this to some extent. I get what he's saying, because as a married man, and having been married for like 9 years now, almost 9 years now, I don't have much insight into modern dating. Thank God. Because everything I hear about it is not good. So.
No, it's the worst.
Yeah.
The thing. Oh gosh, the thing that drives me crazy is like the quasi corporate speak that evangelicals have, like the evangelical vernacular, drives me mad. It has nothing to do with the topic of this video. It's just kind of gay, and I hate it.
Such a like what caught your attention? Because I don't have an ear for it.
Oh gosh. We'll keep going.
Let's keep going. If you start noticing it, just make note of it.
Yeah.
Just tell me these things. I don't know. I don't catch these things because I don't hear it. I don't know it.
Really, that's so weird, because it's so different from like just being normal. I'm just kind of surprised you don't pick it up.
Oh, I mean, they're weird, but I just figured they were weird.
Yeah.
Like
no,
I don't
see.
I don't catch the buzzwords because I don't know them. That's probably the difference. So if you point them out to me, I'll be fascinated. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
It's kids being the spokespeople, and I just think that is like there's such a history in the church. Probably dating back. I mean, you had the child crusades. I mean, there's the worst example you could possibly come up with. But there's something that there's like the innocence and then the idealism. And when kids grab hold of ideas that, that their elders are pushing on them, they just have this passion and this, fervor that's not tempered by any life experience. You've not been humbled by life not working out. I had this, this mindset of like, we're the generation that's going to do things the right way. And so there's some arrogance there. And then I think the evangelical
I
community
actually think that's
is,
a good,
and this is
like a good criticism in general.
Yeah, no,
Like I
he's
think
right.
that's
Yeah.
something he's spot on about.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna poo-poo him this whole time because I
Yeah.
disagree with him on
No,
that.
there are certain things that you maybe can figure out just strictly a priori as a 20-something-year-old, but they're rare. And they don't usually involve like big life experience stuff. Things that are relevant to life experience and how to live a good life. I mean, look, Aristotle basically forbade anyone under 60 from learning ethics.
Sounds like a terrible idea. Hold on, no.
No.
No,
Okay,
Aristotle,
here's the reason. I say learning ethics. Sorry, maybe I should say studying ethics. Is different, maybe.
Okay,
because
that's fair.
Aristotle thought that ethics should be taught to kids purely by example and inculcation.
Mhm.
Like, teach kids how to be good by being good and showing them good examples and like giving use cases and saying here's what you should do, giving rules, right, for them to follow, which Aristotle didn't think were relevant to ethics. That's not real. That's not actually what makes things good, right or wrong. Rules aren't. It's virtue, right? But virtue is something
Right.
you have to practice and have to develop. And how do you do that? Well, you just do it by doing it. And how do you know how to do it? Well, you look at virtuous people and you do what they do. That's what Aristotle thought you should do to learn how to be ethical. But then once you've lived a nice full life, then you can look back on it and you can study ethics. What is it actually to be good? What does that mean? And Aristotle thought, you can only really understand that if you're already virtuous. Because if you don't have well-developed virtue, you're not going to get it. You're going to miss things because you're going to have these weird hang-ups. Your vices are going to get in the way of an intellectual understanding. And I get that.
I get that too, actually.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah,
whenever I tell this to my like 20-year-old students, like, you know how old Aristotle thought you needed to be to start studying ethics? People are like, 9? Sorry, kids. I'm too young for it. You guys, not even close.
Yes. Goodness.
Anyway.
That's actually really fascinating.
Yeah.
Probably a little extreme on the age, but I think the actual point.
But he makes a really good point. He makes a good point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's the same point. So.
Commendable. They're always looking to the next generation. There's always this sense of there's this promise, there's this change that's going to come, revival, and all those kinds of ideas. And so I didn't feel like it was being pushed on me. Like I felt like I wanted this. Like I was very ambitious. I was, I idolized Billy Graham. I studied his life. I wanted to do big things for God. And it didn't feel like anybody was, pushing me from behind. It was like, this is what I want, but obviously the environment was one where that was held out as the ideal. And I grabbed hold of that. And then I was able to popularize ideas that were happening in, these subcultures that were much more conservative, like in the homeschool community. And because I was a young kid, it wasn't an adult, some 50-year-old dude saying it, it seemed much more plausible to students as well as parents.
Well, that's exactly it.
Okay, hold on. So this is a reach, but I'm seeing some influence of once saved, always saved here. So I'm seeing some. Okay, so what he seems to be implying is this is what he thought he wanted, but it wasn't really what he wanted. It was really just that he was, conditioned into it and brought into it. He was really just going through the motions in order to sort of fulfill what his tribe thought he should be doing. Right? He wasn't really deeply committed to Christ at the time. What this reminds me so much of.
Oh, okay. Now I see the connection.
Yeah. This reminds me a lot
Maybe.
of people who would say, usually accusatorily rather than self-referentially, but would say something like, well, you're never really saved from to begin with.
Right.
You really weren't. This really wasn't what you really wanted. You didn't really want to give your life to Christ. You just kind of did it. You just said you did. Right. And he's kind of, I feel like he's kind of like turning that back on himself in a way, just because maybe that's the way that he sort of grew up thinking about it.
I don't know.
Maybe
that feels like psychoanalyzing, and maybe it's possible.
It does strike me as really weird to say that, well, this is what I thought that I wanted, but it's not really. It was really just the environment. That seems like a really odd thing to say about oneself.
Deterministic.
Yeah, it's an odd thing to say about oneself at 20, right? In one's 20s. Like, maybe you can say that about, like, maybe I could say that about when I was 4. that no, I was just doing whatever it was that I was doing because I thought it would make my parents happy and stuff. Right? But that's really different than saying when I was 20 something, I wrote a book and did a national tour because dad wanted me to. That's weird. That seems
Yeah.
like he's making excuses after having deconstructed.
Yeah, that's a level of like psychoanalysis I'm not qualified for.
Maybe I'm
I
maybe
see
I'm
the
reaching,
connection.
but even setting aside the whole once saved always saved thing, that is a weird thing to sort of accuse one's younger self of.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. I can't think of anything in my life. Maybe it's because you and I are. I don't know. We haven't gone through like an identity crisis, like because that's what deconstruction ultimately is. An identity
That's true.
crisis.
My political, theological, religious, and ethical views have literally gone completely unchanged for 12 years, give or take. Not even a hair.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah. Ethics has shifted slightly. My ethical views have shifted slightly, only because of deepened in sophistication, because I've studied it extensively.
Right.
Like I today would not disagree with anything that I would have said 12 years ago, but I might have added additional stuff to it, added more context.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely changed my opinion, but I would never say like
Nope, haven't
I
changed my
thought I
opinions.
wanted. I would just say I wanted.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and
yeah,
that's
no,
really different. I think that's importantly different.
I can't. I can't add too much to it because like that's a level of psychoanalysis. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on what this dude did or didn't want.
I don't know. Chat, what do you guys think?
What's chat saying? Hold on. Sounds like Grace is having a rough time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you.
Klaus von Zeit, Klaus of Time.
Yeah, that's Klaus. He's in here a lot. I think you know him.
Yeah.
He's in Saint Posting.
Probably.
If I told you his name, I don't know if he wants me to say his name.
Klaus von Zeit.
No.
Just surprised you haven't made your usual remarks about German.
What if it needs to be said in German? It doesn't need to be said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. His name is just.
I don't know what it means.
Klaus
I assumed
Time.
the name.
Von Zeit is of time or from time.
I thought it was like an historical name that he was using. Whatever.
It could be. It's still just of or from time.
Feel free to clarify for us, Klaus. In any case, let's keep going. If chat, if you have any thoughts on the matter, feel free to jump in with it, or otherwise we'll keep on going.
You were a young guy, you were an attractive guy. I think it took away the element of like your parents telling you what to do and, this sort of like natural rebellious impulse that you would have in reaction to that kind of advice from an older person. Right. And so I think that kids can be very useful pawns. And I don't always mean that people are sitting there like, let's figure out how to use the kids, but I think there's a recognition of, these younger people can say things and there's less likelihood they're going to be attacked for it or dismantled in the same way. They're going to be better received by their peers and all of it's accurate and true. But I think oftentimes, I look back at ways that I feel similar to you. I don't think my parents manipulated me or pushed me, but there were certainly times where I was using my platform or saying things I look back and I just cringe about now. Yeah. And, I was so indoctrinated in some ways and was a good messenger. And, that's a perfect storm to like send somebody out to do your bidding. And then you get a little older, you get some life experience, your brain is fully formed and you start to look back on things you think or said or advocated for. And I think when it comes to purity culture, it's really interesting too, because there's obviously.
I mean, I was a neocon in high school, so.
Oh, that's literally where my brain went to.
There's that. But I grew out of that. I got over that. And it's not like here's the main thing. I'm not going to say that I was a neocon in high school because I was in a certain environment that lent itself towards it. And I really wanted to, I'm not going to blame environmental factors. No, I just listened to the O'Reilly Factor or watched the O'Reilly Factor and listened to Sean Hannity and thought that they were right and that we should bomb Middle Easterners a lot. That's all. Like, if and I can't even blame 9/11 either because I became politically aware way too late after 9/11 for that to really matter. So no, like I was 10 years old at 9/11. So I was, I don't know. I made a wrong political choice and then I fixed it. That's all. Yeah. It happens. But I'm not going to go ahead and say that, well, I did this because I wanted to.
This is a good freeze frame, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry, Hannah. Not against you. I wouldn't.
It's a good memeable face.
True. I edit enough of my own videos to know that freeze frames are very seldom kind. So I get it.
Freeze frames are the best. Love them.
It's true. They make the greatest. They make great meme faces. You know from all of the various meme faces of my own children that I use in Discord.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going.
This huge conversation around the impacts of it based on gender, right? And how it may have impacted women differently than men. And I feel like even in the response that I've seen to you since you've come out and made your apology about the book, and actually you even asked that it be taken out of circulation. There were a lot of people who gave you credit for that and who have thanked you for that and who've spoken out. But I've also seen people saying, well, now he needs to go away, right? He shouldn't speak anymore. This man needs to like take a back seat and he just needs to listen. And I really dislike that. I feel like that's so unfair. And I'm curious what your thoughts are, as far as being a man who was used or who chose to speak about these issues. And like, do you think you received less grace for being a man when you did come out and apologize and take it back? Like, what do you think about that gender divide when it comes to the impacts of purity culture, but also the debate that we're still having about it?
I feel so many conflicting emotions about it. The reality is that, I was a part of churches, and obviously my books reflect this. It's a very patriarchal message that I was communicating. And so guys, the power imbalance there is very real. In other words, even in purity culture, there's more blame placed on women. It's like, are you dressing modestly? Like, don't cause your brothers to stumble. All those kind of ideas. That wasn't there wasn't an equal emphasis on responsibility between men and women.
What do you think? Does that match your experience, or is this a regionalism or what do you think?
I think it's a perception thing.
Okay. How so?
Because that's not at all how I felt.
Really? Okay. So how did, not to sound too gay, how did you feel about it?
Sorry. You led with not to sound too gay. My brain just wanted to make like 30 different gay jokes.
Well,
no.
Contain yourself. It's the tequila, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you gay.
Makes my baby a little bit frisky. That's whiskey.
Cheers to that. Moving on. Go ahead. Anyway, sorry. What do you have to? Okay, so how did you experience purity culture, like as a young man, as opposed to as a young woman? And is that matching what he's saying? What do you think?
I mean, like there was kind of like, be modest. To me, it didn't feel as like this huge pressure placed on girls. Like, we said it, but it was like, just like be modest. And that was it.
Okay.
I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Like high context versus low context. I'm a guy. I tend to be low context. When I hear one of these purity culture people say, girls, you need to dress modestly. I hear girls, you need to dress modestly. Girls hear, hey, you need to dress modestly because you're a little skank.
Yeah. Or
right.
Or something like, keep an eye on how you look because you could be perceived in certain ways by men around you. Yeah. And so it leads, maybe it either leads to or even just feeds into the whole what's it called? There's a thing about this. It's not self-checking, but it's the idea that women on average are far more often checking themselves to see how they look, how they're presenting themselves, in comparison to men who will, on very rare occasions, notice that they have a large stain across the top of their head, and I swear, I have gone most of the day not realizing I had marker drawn on my head from one of my kids. It has happened until I think at one point a student was courteous enough to be like, Professor, what's going on here? I was like, what? I had to look in a mirror and I was, oh, kids. Anyway, but but I think it's like self-checking or something. You know what I'm talking about? But maybe it feeds into that. Whatever it is. Yeah. But maybe it feeds into
I really do think it's just the high context versus low context. It's not intended to be a patriarchal message. It's not intended to put more emphasis and responsibility on girls. Because I was told not to look constantly. Right? Because that's the guy's responsibility, right? If you see something immodest, you don't look at it. That's our responsibility. Right? So
And
Yeah,
if I'm not
I feel like
mistaken,
it's a perception thing. Like, I will say this: this movement was very clearly mostly put together by dudes,
Mhm.
and was communicated very dudely.
okay,
And I think that's why it ended up not being super helpful for girls, because it wasn't communicated
okay,
in a way that they would be receptive to. Yeah, again, because I think it's like, again,
I see what you're talking
it's
about.
not
Yeah.
intention. Yeah, it's not intended to be, hey girls, um, you have to have all the responsibility in this. It's just, hey, dress modestly, and then the way it's phrased, the way it's framed, because of the way women communicate, it comes across to women as, hey, women, you're responsible if men lust after
Yeah.
you.
No. Okay. I know what you're talking. That actually does make a lot
Yeah,
of sense. That
yeah,
it's really just inadvertent because
yeah,
of this sort of communication barrier, or at least communication
yeah,
hurdle between the sexes. Yeah. No. I think that's a good point.
yeah.
I think that's a good
So
point.
it's probably patriarchal in the sense that it wasn't meant to be, but because it was put together by dudes who aren't
Yeah.
as conscious of how women communicate.
Well, I mean, that in itself is often enough blamed. Is just called patriarchal. Right, that this is a right, this is a man-centered way of approaching the
Right.
problem, and so
That's fair.
it counts as patriarchal because it's by the patriarchy for women and men, but for women in this case. And so because it's men speaking to women, that's mansplaining or whatever. And so maybe that's it. Maybe that's part of it. I
Yeah, it could be.
certainly think, not to put words in her mouth, but I certainly think that Hannah would be sympathetic to that idea of calling that sort of thing patriarchal.
Yeah, she probably would.
Based on what I know of her and what she said before. Seems like it. And yeah, Baze, that's a good point. Baze points out girls complaining about unfair dress codes in certain contexts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that
I,
some of that's real. Some of that is just that men just would not wear some of the things that women might want to get away with wearing.
you should see women at the gym, dude.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I assume you wear a shirt at the gym, right?
I wear a t-shirt and shorts, dude.
Yeah, and they're not like painted on or anything. Like, you don't wear body paint
No.
or anything like that, and the speedo or your ass cheeks are not hanging out or extra supported or anything, or you don't
Or
film
shaped by my very tight trousers.
right. No, none of that stuff, right? I assume not, right? That's what I'm
Some of
saying.
these girls, dudes, they wear outfits at the gym that just make me
Sure,
chuckle. I'm like, what are some of them wear like the most horribly colored, like one piece jumpsuits. And I'm
I'm
like,
sure.
that's certainly a decision.
I'm sure.
That is a decision and you made it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's even like immodest per se, but the thing is though, why I
It's an
push
entirely
back on the
separate
whole like
conversation.
um the disparity in terms of dress codes
Mm-hmm.
is because even if it's just cultural, I don't think it's just cultural, but even if it's primarily cultural, men won't try and get away with wearing as much crazy bullshit as women tend to. There are exceptions to that. I got in trouble for wearing a cape in high school, but
Yeah, you would.
I
That
would.
is a thing
I
you would
did.
do.
The cops called on me once because I was standing on top of the parking garage billowing, and someone thought I was going to jump. I wasn't, but that was in college. But you know, it was windy. What am I supposed to do? Not billow? Come on.
It's a miracle you're married.
I know.
Yeah,
Shocking. I'm still alive.
indeed.
Anyway, all right, let's keep going.
And so I really sympathize with, the response of many women that are understandably angry at the ways that purity culture and my teaching impacted people and so on. And I definitely hear and really, it hurts when people communicate that message of, hey, even though you've changed your mind, you don't have any place, in the conversation or go away, that kind of a thing. And I think that's been a tough one for me. I mean, honestly, I've really wrestled with like, oh yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe I've kind of like, disqualified myself from ever speaking on anything basically. And I've had to kind of come around to my own conviction that says, you know what? I participated in that kind of environment in the past where we decide who gets to speak, who gets the microphone, we shut out, many voices. And I've realized, you know what, I don't want to participate in that again. I don't want to be a part of whatever you want to call it, kind of a new regime where it's like we decide who is allowed to communicate. I don't think that me showing up shuts anybody else down. In fact, there are moments where people will communicate those kinds of things, and I say, you know what an awesome moment. Like, you're speaking to me and you're communicating that. In the past, if we were, when in one of our old churches, you wouldn't have the confidence or the power or the freedom to do that. Let's celebrate that moment. We can disagree about things. You might wish that I'd go away, but I want to welcome all the voices. I think it's so easy to think, oh, if, we just shut these.
So I think that what we were saying about the patriarchy is probably right here. Because what he's pushing back on is the kind of the accusation of mansplaining, right?
I just hate the HR speak. I hate the HR speak.
Yeah.
I hate it. Talk like a normal human being, you goober. Ugh.
No, because one, he's part of a large organization. Two, leftoid.
Yeah. Yep.
HR speak is just embodied leftism anyway.
You're not wrong. I hate HR speak. Like, they just don't talk like human beings. Like, they don't talk the way people.
I think it's closely related to therapy speak. Not the same.
Yeah.
But they're related, I think.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I try not to interact with either of those professions in a professional context if I can avoid it. But
that's fair.
Yeah. Anyway,
these people down, everything will be great. But that mindset creates an environment that I think is really dangerous. I think we have to be able to let all the voices at the table, even the dudes, where there's been a huge imbalance over the years. So that's
I think it feels very unfair to me. I think there's a lack of grace. I think there is a lack of understanding about your age and how you likely grew up that led to that position. But I also just think it has a very harmful effect if we're telling people, hey, you can never be wrong, right? If you're wrong, you're done. You're out of potential leadership. Nobody's going to listen to you. You can't ever admit fault. That's creates the exact opposite of the culture we would want to have, whether it's in the church or outside of it. But I think especially in the church, where's the grace? Where's the ability to have forgiveness? And where's the recognition that actually real leaders take account and they admit fault and then they redirect. Nobody's perfect. But I really think that's been a strong reaction I felt when I've seen that sort of sentiment. It's far reaching. It's certainly not just in the context of this debate. Like, I've seen it, often even in left-wing circles when I was working in political, areas. And I would say, well, if we're canceling people, like, why would they change? If that's the inroad, then most people have no reason to change their ways or come out of, their environment where they're currently finding success and redirect. And so I think there has to be better avenues. And I think that when you really look at the purity culture debate, so much.
Before we get into that, again, credit to Hannah there. She reminds us that she is in fact a libertarian, and not necessarily always in the cringe way either. So that's good.
Yeah, she articulated my criticism of evangelical purity culture right there pretty well. I don't really have anything to add to that.
There you go. Yeah, and I can't disagree. I can't really disagree there.
No, it's just like there's just like. I think one of the, we could
actually, say more about the lack of forgiveness thing, because that was something I think you mentioned.
Yeah, maybe this is just me, as a young man with internet access.
as you do. We know what you're doing.
Yeah. You like, boobies are nice to look at. Not gonna lie. Yeah, they're just, it does like kind of. Again, I don't think it was the intent of the people pushing purity culture. I think the intent was to protect children from the harms of disordered sexuality.
Yeah.
That is the intent.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a bunch of people who don't have any who don't have a strong enough philosophical understanding. Like, you and I both agree with the natural law philosophy when it comes to sexual ethics, right? So we actually can answer, so we can answer questions like, hey, why is homosexuality bad?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we can have a thoughtful conversation about that and really get into the why. Evangelicals can't really do that.
Yeah. This is a common problem, not just among evangelicals, but just it's a really broad problem of knowing that something is bad, but having no idea why. Then at some point out in the wild being challenged and having absolutely
it's like
no
lefties
defense.
and fascism. They're like, fascist, you're a fascist. Like, hey, what do you mean?
Okay.
Why is that bad?
Why? Yeah. No, that's actually a thing. Like, okay, fine. Why is that bad? Suppose I'm a fascist. Why is it bad? Suppose I'm a racist. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
So what if someone's advocating genocide? What's so bad about genocide? And okay, maybe they can articulate something like a reason for it, but any skilled rhetorician can probably knock down arguments posed by, let's say, an evangelical, a typical evangelical. Again, there are exceptions to this, of course. There are really intelligent, well-educated, and knowledgeable evangelicals, but that's not the most common. And I will say that your average Catholic, say, I think this probably applies to Lutherans as well, possibly the exception of ELCA.
ELC is not Lutheran. They don't. I don't know what they are anymore. They're pagans. They baptize in the name of Mother Gaia. They're literally pagans.
Oh god, they don't all do that. That's not entirely fair.
Yeah, but I just
enough of them do that it's a problem. If one does it, it's a problem. Let's be honest. Anyway,
one of their deaconesses or woman priests literally invented a new creed called the Sparkle Creed, and it's just LGBT.
Oh, that was ELCA?
I'm pretty sure.
That was them? Okay, never mind. Burn them.
They're not even, Burn them. Seriously, like, I refuse
Pagans. To... St. Boniface option.
Get the axe. I just need to write I just need to get ChatGPT to write me a big article about how relating anything to Luther
Excuse me?
Relating anything to Luther is super anti-progressive, and publish it far and wide so that the ELCA drops the L from their stupid idiot name.
Just write it. Why would you need the demons to do it for you, man? Oh my god.
Well, that's what the demons do. They're good at lying. They're good at making things up.
All right, anyway. My point though is that
demons are good at lying.
Even your average pew-sitting Catholic has some rational backing to why they believe at least a lot of the pretty core doctrines.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that also applies. I will especially say that applies to ethics. Right, we Catholics tend to be pretty good about knowing our ethics and knowing the whys of them. And now maybe this is just because I'm at a pretty good parish, and our pastor is quite.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say? Wordy.
Mm-hmm.
He remember Pope Francis. I don't know if you remember this. He gave the advice of that when you're doing a homily, the first 5 minutes is for God, the next 5 minutes is for the congregation, the next 5 minutes is for yourself. So keep it under 10 minutes. He's never once listened to that, never even once. But anyway, but like your average parishioners at our parish at like after mass at coffee and donuts or whatever are discussing high level theology and apologetics at like while munching on crullers or whatever. So and that's not like, these aren't like, as far as I know, I'm the only one with one of two with serious academic training in theology, apologetics, philosophy, anything like that. So yeah, this is just, average pew sitters know their stuff.
That's good.
Yeah. And so, and like you said about like leftists and fascism, about evangelicals, and especially I will say about natural law ethics. When confronted with especially a rhetorically strong emotional appeal to the contrary, they fall apart. They have no natural defense against it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the double error. I'll call it a double error just for the sake of ecumenism, I guess. Well, the error of solo scriptura,
sure.
Where scripture's all you get, and you can't use anything outside of it. Like that's
Latin for I don't speak Latin.
Yeah, exactly. I also think a lot of like lay evangelicals.
By the way, for my Catholic audience, let me briefly explain this. The distinction that a lot of Protestants make between sola scriptura and solo scriptura is essentially the distinction that Catholics would make between sola scriptura and prima scriptura. So the sola scriptura as outlined by the original reformers is essentially the same as what we, or even Council of Trent, would call prima scriptura. That scripture is the primary rule of faith, that nothing can contradict Scripture, but that it does not contain all information relevant to the faith. Now, Protestants would go further than that to say that it at least some Protestants, without going into the solo scriptura thing, would say that it does contain all the information necessary for salvation, right? Which I think, well, we can talk about that another time, because I think that there's a way in which Catholics would agree with that pretty wholeheartedly, but there's also a way in which we would disagree with that pretty wholeheartedly, because that's what we do. But anyway, whereas what we would more strongly go against, and what a lot of Protestants will call solo scriptura, in criticism of evangelicals, and correct me if I'm mistaken about this, is the idea that Scripture alone is the source of religious knowledge having to do with the faith. And that if it is not found in Scripture, we don't need to be concerned about it with anything that has to do with God or the faith or religion or anything like that. Something like that?
Yeah, well, the meme of solo scriptura is a little even stronger than that.
Ooh, neat.
Like it gets to, because it's not a formal doctrine. It is an unwitting error.
It's an abuse term, really. It's a term of abuse, but it's relevant because it happens. Mm-hmm. And I'll admit it happens. I just think the term is stupid.
A lot of part of the problem is evangelicals, they don't have an apostolic succession,
mm-hmm. Or an interpretive tradition, even, really.
Yeah,
formal one, at least. No, they have actually. That's not true. They have interpretive traditions that they don't acknowledge are interpretive traditions. They refuse to acknowledge an interpretive
because their structure is so loose. Mm-hmm. A lot of churches can actually end up with pastors who no laying on of hands, no praying over, no formal education at all. Like mm-hmm. Billy Bob Joe just had an experience of the Holy Spirit and started a church.
Yeah.
Right. And now he's out there preaching.
They planted a church.
Right. Yeah.
I know some of the terms. I know some of the terminology.
Hate it. Yeah. So a lot of these people that are like trying to spread purity culture, mm-hmm. they are unwitting divine command theorists when it comes to morality,
or just outright, like a lot of evangelicals and a lot of Christians in general don't see a problem mm-hmm. with divine command theory.
Right.
Like there are even Catholics who don't see a problem with divine command theory just because they don't know better. But there's a lot fewer of those than there are of evangelicals, but there are plenty of people who just think, no, of course it's wrong because God says it's wrong. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
We've talked elsewhere about what's wrong with that, but
yeah. So when like a kid asks like, hey, why can't I, look at these images on the internet and enjoy myself, right? Like they don't have an answer for that outside of God, which is funny because like technically like you can't find anywhere in, I guess, like you can look at a woman with lust. Like, that's the extent of it.
But it's not lusting at a woman in your heart if it's not a real woman. What if it's anime porn?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's
I joke, but that's an actual argument that I hear a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was the conversation with Matt Fradd and Dennis Prager.
Oh yeah,
Dennis Prager just makes my skin crawl. Oh, because
he could not say that child porn was evil.
Animated.
True, simulated child porn.
Yeah, he would say that actual. Well, I think he also said
that the production of it was evil.
Yeah,
the manufacture.
He could condemn the manufacturer. He couldn't condemn the viewership of it, which is just horrific.
Yeah, but you can see how you get there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because he's just some wonky divine command theory stuff. Yeah. So bringing it back to purity culture, there's a lot of that. So a lot of kids. So like kind of really like.
Which I will say, by the way, that is
smarter.
That's actually really common in modern Judaism, but not in historic Judaism. Like, read Maimonides.
I can see that.
Maimonides was absolutely a natural law theorist. Aquinas just basically used Maimonides as a source for a lot of ethical arguments.
Cool.
The medieval Jewish philosophers were not that. Not at all.
That's good.
Anyway, yeah.
It's like what, Reformed Judaism,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
just nonsense, which is just believe whatever you want to believe.
It's minimal offense. It's Protestantism.
Looking at you, Rabbi Volpe.
I was looking at. There's a lot. There's a lot of rabbis we could be looking at.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pastors we could be looking at too. But anyway,
because kids are a lot cleverer than modern society really likes to give them credit for.
Yeah,
if you can't give them a satisfactory answer, they will just get discouraged and just like, ow. And like that, I think, is what did more harm than anything with purity culture. Is you have this really, really, really heavy emphasis on law regarding sexual ethics without a good like a way to make it understandable as to why these things are bad.
Right.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, another huge miscommunication misstep, at least with purity culture in where I was growing up, which is Denver and rural Colorado. There's a lot of like really, really, really bad communication because it'd be like, you want to stay pure until marriage. Can you spot the problem with that?
Yeah.
There's two possible interpretations that both are really bad. One is that you get married and now you don't have to be pure anymore, so you can fornicate with whomever. Right. There's that implication, but there's another implication that sex even within marriage is itself impure.
Yeah.
Like that's a bad thing. And both of those are really, like, again, the intended statement there is don't have sex until you're married. Right? Because sex is supposed to be this really good thing that's wholesome and wonderful. It unifies two souls. It creates new souls. Like that's a really cool thing to think about.
It is. Yeah.
Like having
participated in the creation of a bunch of new souls is pretty cool.
Yeah. Vince gets laid.
I have more children than you. I was talking about the children, all right? I'm not...
I know.
Relax, man. Single people, man. Single people.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's cool. You make it like a new human being. That's cool. It's genuinely really cool. Right. Yeah, so just a lot of this stuff wasn't explained to kids. And so you have this like perfect storm of kids being cleverer than they're given credit for, having questions that aren't getting answered, having immense pressure put on them to live a lifestyle. Let's be honest, it's like living a chaste lifestyle is very difficult, especially in the 21st century where everything is pornified. Everything.
Yeah, true.
Like even just watching like I really enjoy the movie, the 2007 Transformers. Fantastic movie. But yeah, Michael Bay's not a bad director, but you can tell that he did porn before he did actual movies. You can see it in the way he films people. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's why Megan Fox was in the movie.
Yeah. That's why she ended up calling him a Nazi, which is really funny.
But like, for example, okay. I was actually just talking about this with Philip and Len, who I've had on the channel before. Talking about the Marvel Netflix TV shows. There's only one of those series that has no explicit sex scenes. It's Iron Fist. All the other ones do.
Which is like the worst one.
Probably. And I liked it because I like classic kung fu stuff, but yeah, no, it was probably the worst of them. But no, they all have explicit sex scenes. Which why? Like it's a superhero show. What are you doing? But you know, it's prestige TV. It's not FCC regulated, man. We can get away with showing TNA, guys. Like, okay, fine, whatever. But even within the like FCC regulation kind of thing, like why does Fox News have the blonde, the consistently blonde correspondent, anchor, whatever, on the side of the table rather than behind the table? Could it be because her skirt's too short? By the way, as soon as you notice this about Fox News, you will never unsee it. I'm sorry.
Wait, hold on.
Viewers.
I'm gonna have to endure it over Thanksgiving because I'm staying with my grandparents.
Keep an eye out for it. Any panel show in which there is a female is first of all, she's usually blonde, but not always, but usually blonde, and she is
Oh, I know. The blonde.
Always on the side of the table, usually left side facing the screen, so you can see her legs. It's even in the office, in the Fox News office, it's referred to as the leg chair.
That's really funny.
Yeah. I mean, look, why is Hannah over here? Not you. Why is Hannah wearing a low cut top?
Perfect choice for a video criticizing purity culture.
Actually, yes. I mean, because again, deconstructed, evangelical, deep rejection of purity. Anyway, I should not be too unkind.
What was I saying before this?
I should not be too unkind because as I understand it, she just got married this week. So congratulations, Hannah, if you wind up.
Congrats to her. Condolences to him.
And rude.
I really don't like Hannah Cox. She's so insufferable.
She's good sometimes. As we pointed out, she has her good moments.
I don't think she says untrue things. That's not my problem. I don't even think she's stupid. I just think she's arrogant. It's her
okay.
ego
No,
yeah,
okay.
That's literally it.
Anyway, the point being though, you were saying about you were talking about avoiding what Catholics would call near occasions of sin in a pornified culture, and that being super difficult, and that being a high burden placed on kids.
Right. So what would happen? There was a young lady it was one of my friends on Twitter, because she became like her family wasn't super religious, so she like grew up alongside purity culture, but was not in it was not in it herself at all. But she recounted like what she would see with girls is that they would have this immense pressure put on them to be chaste, and then they would screw up, and then they would just spiral into sluthood from there.
Okay, give up.
Right, because it's like, they failed the one time, and then they just completely gave up. There wasn't any getting back up and trying. Repentance and all that. Because there's just, going back to what you said, there just really wasn't a lot of grace for screw ups.
Yeah. In that, framing it in terms of purity, you can see why it does kind of make sense. Yeah. Because if once you fornicate, you're impure, you can't. I mean, on the face of it, you can't undo that.
Right.
Now, that said, you can. Right. God's forgiveness. That is a thing. You can undo that. Like, okay, super crude example, but. Funny I should say but, because I'm about to talk about Milo Yiannopoulos, who had a great tweet a while ago. Because when he said something to somebody and somebody tries to insult him back by reply tweeting, saying you can't unsuck all those dicks, and then he just quote tweeted and said, "By God's grace, yes, I can." And I'm just no, you're right, man. Yeah, good job unsucking all those dicks.
I'm glad Milo like repented of that. I was like genuinely really happy for him.
He threw his sodomy wedding ring into a volcano.
That's amazing.
I love it. Like, you
That's
can't
beautiful.
beat that.
Yeah, it's good for you, dude.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's
that's
really how. No, that's it. Like that's how purity culture ended up being so harmful. It's just like it was not a lot of grace, and then it was communicated in a way that really, like, while well intentioned, did end up being pretty harmful to young women. Like I don't think the guys spiraled as hard as the women did when they screwed up.
Yeah, and again, I think you're right that probably it has more to do with communication than with doctrine.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's also why. Maybe that's why I haven't seen much of a problem with it, because it wasn't communicated to me. I only kind of see it from the outside, and I'm pretty analytical. I look at the doctrines and the ethics of something, and I say, well, it's purity culture, right? You're supposed to,
it's literally just
fornicate.
It's literally just be chaste. Yeah, it's like the actual doctrine of itself is super simple. It's just be chaste. Right. It's just that the way it's communicated, the pressures it puts on like relatively young children, the fact that it most of the time didn't have solid answers for the why behind the ethic.
Yeah,
just kind of created this perfect storm, like.
And also, like, going back to the thing that you said, to be pure until marriage, a couple of other options, a couple of other potential problems there. One good way of looking at that is it's until, in the same sense of until, meaning you simply describe a time period, and it's irrelevant to the time period after that. maybe
Right.
yeah, you're still pure, but that takes on a different meaning afterwards, right? There's a Catholic point, but that Joseph did not know her until she bore a son.
Right. Oh,
Right?
yeah,
That does
yeah.
not imply that he knew her the next night, right? Clearly. Now, you can
The
argue whether or
LCMS
not
is
that implies a
pro-
change of state after the fact,
pro
sometime
Semper
after the
Virgo.
fact, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that, right?
Right.
Well,
The LCMS,
Yeah.
like officially, the official leanings, not church teachings, but the
Uh-huh.
official leanings of the LCMS is Semper Virgo.
well, there you go, cool. But yeah, that's a good example of the same sort of thing. Like
Yeah,
remain
yeah.
pure until marriage. That doesn't mean suddenly become impure afterwards.
Right.
Anyway, the other
No, I
thing
know what
about
you're
this that you didn't mention, but also can be a problem, is that I think this can lead to the whole the marriage bed is undefiled thing.
Mhm. Oh no, he's
Excuse me.
dying.
Yeah, a little bit. It's been going on
He's
lately.
dead.
But this meaning that that anything that you do with your spouse is just a-okay. That idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, don't sodomize your wife, guys. That's gay. Still gay. Don't do that.
We just need the schizo meme posted right now. It's that one on screen.
What, the butts one?
Yeah, the ass versus tits.
I am screen sharing, but I'd have to switch it. Real G's know what we're talking about, right? Anyway,
It's true.
but no, I can't believe I just said that. It's getting late. I'm almost done with my scotch.
Just ping us in the server and we'll share the meme with you.
Yeah.
I have it like tabbed in a spot that makes it easy to
good.
find.
Good.
And it just ends up being super relevant to a lot of weird conversations for whatever reason.
It's true. Milo Yiannopoulos, speaking of, shared that at one point. I'm very proud.
Yeah, I know. He stole it from me because I replied to him.
Yeah. He reposted it. Yeah. And you stole it from me, so whatever. It's
true.
It's what memes are for.
Yeah.
I'm still happy about it. Anyway. Right. So this idea that that because you must be pure until marriage, that means that after marriage, there are no rules anymore.
Right.
That's dangerous for all sorts of reasons. First of all, because you are in fact defiling the marriage bed. You can be. But then also because it treats impurity, bad things, as a treat. You know? Right? It's this idea that which you find a lot in divine command theory, that, oh man, it would be great if I could get away with sinning. But I'm not gonna, because it'd be bad, and I shouldn't do it. Man, it would be good if I could. Right? That kind of attitude is really nasty. Going back to Aristotle, it's what Aristotle referred to as continence as opposed to virtue. Right? It's wanting to do something bad but choosing not to is strictly worse, ethically speaking, than acknowledging that something is bad and therefore not wanting to do it. Right? So yeah, it inculcates a kind of vice into almost essentially into marriage, which is it's another really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad possibility.
That whole phrase was just so messed up and bad.
Yeah.
Another thing that it kind of did, going back to what they were saying about like placing all the responsibility on young girls, it also unintentionally created a view of men in the minds of women that men are just predators. Like they're just
I can see that. I can see that.
Like I know a lot of like kind of the inverse of the girl that screwed up the one time and spiraled and just became a total slag. The inverse is like the girl who's just terrified of sex.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
mean, I've heard of plenty of instances where this kind of intense purity culture can basically lead to sexual dysfunction in marriage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, so that's kind of my thing. It's like it wasn't good. It was just not.
All right. Yeah,
I think purity
right.
culture is probably the big driver behind a lot of the ex-evangelical movement, because like these are probably the questions they were asking their pastors that their pastors didn't have answers for, even more so than like the problem of evil.
I mean, okay, yes, but there is the new atheism to think about.
Yeah, that's true too.
Right? And I think that these co-occurred because purity culture was big in the 90s, and then the new atheism was big in the early to mid noughties. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
the naughties.
Yes, those. But you had this in like that period, in that decade or so. You had this perfect storm of the fallout from purity culture. You had the this movement of like scientism in the new atheists that go with it, and then also the kind of Sam Harris religion leads to violence thing in the wake of 9/11. You have all of that sort of blending together, and it's no small wonder that you have a big exodus from the church, especially from evangelicalism. Not exclusively, but especially.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. Yeah, and I mean, I think we're recovering from that, and I think part of that is a sort of growing, better understanding of sexual ethics.
Yes,
better understanding of historical Christianity, having to do with in terms of like violence and stuff like that. Kids these days are all perfectly aware that the Crusades were actually based, stuff like that.
Deus fault.
Oh man, but like but all sorts of things like that, right? And then of course, I mean, you have this resurgence in classical theism, which maybe that's another thing that we should talk about at some point, because we had some other differing experiences as to do with that too. But I talked about this on the live stream Tuesday, I think, a little bit.
You might have.
Yeah.
I don't get to watch a lot of live streams.
It was on there at some point. But anyway, it's I do think that I think you're probably right that fallout from evangelical purity culture was a big contributing factor to kids falling away, millennials falling away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's something you've explained in the Catholic Church, quote, pelvic issues, unquote.
Yeah.
Just tends to be a huge driver of apostasy.
Yeah. Like I'm starting to have doubts about the faith. Usually translates to I just moved in with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's the most common reason. Really, at least in my experience.
Yeah. Well, that's all I had to say.
All right. Now, it is after midnight, and we have covered at least 17 minutes of this video.
I thought it was going to be a lot more cringe.
No, it wasn't. Honestly, like, that's the thing. It was not a bad interview, and I did actually think that there was plenty to talk about. I kind of just wanted to talk to you about this because you kind of know about the issue, and I don't. And so I've got the philosophical, ethical chops to talk about purity, and chastity, and yada yada yada. But I don't exactly know when I saw this video, I didn't know what they were talking about. I kind of assumed that, frankly, they were kind of full of it, and that they just had pelvic issues themselves, and were just like, oh, they don't like purity culture because they just want to go and sleep with their significant other or whatever, right? But no, I think you have kind of done a good job at showing me, like, presumably, hopefully showing the audience as well, some of what's actually wrong with this whole purity culture thing.
Yeah. I think like it wasn't. I know I just said it was like probably a big driver behind a lot of apostasy, but I also don't think it was like this apocalyptic thing. I think a lot of the harms are kind of self-imposed through misunderstanding.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like when you're that young, it's like it's kind of hard to blame you.
Yeah. And I'll follow Bishop Barron in another thing, because I follow him in a lot of things. Not really
I like him.
Really? Wait, you do like him or you don't like him?
I like him. I like Bishop Barron.
No, he's good. He's mostly good.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Couple of things he's weird on. He likes continental philosophers too much for me. That's a really niche issue. Most people who don't like
Yeah.
Bishop Barron, most people who disagree with him are like, he's a hopeful universalist and he's a Balthasarian, and I'm just like, Cardinal Newman was a little bit of a continental for being an Englishman, and he's a little bit too obsessed with that sort of thing, and he follows some of, he kind of has a weird emphasis on some of these things, and so I'd go a different way with it. That's all. That's kind of my anyway. It's getting late. Jesus, I'm almost done with my whiskey. My point, though,
I know.
the part I would follow Bishop Barron on for on this topic is that I don't necessarily think that it is the kind of, say, spiritual abuse that a lot of evangelicals would say, but rather it is a lack of proper formation and education about these important topics.
Yeah, that I agree with.
That it's this whole program, but it's not properly comprehensive like it probably should be, right?
Yes.
And like I always say, we are always yapping about comprehensive sex education kind of thing, and we kind of let the secularists get away with teaching our children comprehensive sex education. Maybe we don't, but a lot of us do. A lot of people do. But I always say that sex education cannot be comprehensive without a close reading of Humanae Vitae. That's Paul VI encyclical on the matter of human sexuality. You can't. It is. By the way, if you haven't read Humanae Vitae, read it. Like, I'll put it in the description.
I'll give it a read.
Like, give it a read. It's relatively short. It's not one of these like 21st century encyclicals that are like 80 pages long or anything like that. Which, man, I will say, I like reading papal documents and things. I like reading Vatican documents. I'm one of those weirdos, but they're getting too long. They're getting too long. Humanae Vitae is like, I think it's less than 20 pages. So, it's totally readable in one sitting.
Your comment about enjoying reading Vatican documents just has me going over trolling all the rad trads mad about the latest one.
Oh, the Marian one?
Yeah, I just have that clip from Helsing Ultimate Abridged playing in my head.
Yep.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
I have an idea.
Woman.
Why don't you write a formal declaration?
Don't you dare.
And nail it to his door.
Don't do it.
Like a Protestant.
Here's where I pull my gun.
I don't think you ever saw it, or I might be blocked by James Taylor or whatever his name is now. Taylor Marshall? What's his name?
Oh, Taylor Marshall. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that guy that's like flirting with SSPX.
Yeah.
Or Seeds.
I have a lot of mixed feelings on Taylor Marshall.
I'm sure. But I replied to him with that one. That made me happy.
My go-to meme is just the airplane meme of I had to pick the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. But it's just, I always pick the wrong week to stop ignoring Taylor Marshall. Like, every once in a while, I'm like, hey, I wonder what he's up to. Oh, that's what he's up to. Anyway, yeah. No, my point is like that. The point I was getting at is that any kind of sexual education needs a really strong ethical component to it, and that ethical component has to be deeply rooted in natural law. It has to have some depth to it. It can't just be, here's how to put a condom on a banana. Now, if you have sex, you will get pregnant and die. Like, no, like,
here's how to put a banana or a condom on a banana. Don't get AIDS.
Yeah, right. No, that can't be good enough. There needs, and it can't even just be like, don't have sex, or even don't have sex until you're married, because God doesn't want you to. It can't be that. I mean, well, sure it can be, but it can't be just that. You do really need a robust framework around your ethics. Or, like you said, kids are going to ask questions. And if you don't have answers for those questions, they're going to find those answers somewhere else. And you're not going to like those answers.
Yeah. Kids are a lot cleverer than people give them credit for.
And more curious.
I know, I just kind of... Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, they'll ask you questions. I'm sure you definitely get this more than I do. How old's your oldest now?
7.
Like 6?
7.
Okay.
She's not
Yeah,
there yet in that term. And that's good.
I bet she's still surprised you every once in a while
Oh,
with the
yeah.
questions she's asked. Yeah.
Constantly. Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I think
Between terrorizing you and
well,
the
yeah,
missus.
no. She asks all kinds of things that I have no idea where she got the idea to ask these things. So it happens all the time. And a lot of the times I will say I'm well educated, I'm clever, I'm smart, I know my stuff. I have no idea. I have no idea. And I think maybe this is parenting advice from someone who is not an expert, despite all the children I have. Because no one's an expert. Get over that. But I don't know. Let's find out is a great answer. Always a great answer. And especially if you don't know, if you aren't prepared for a question your kids have. I don't know. Let's find out. Is great.
Yeah.
Especially because it shows your kids where to look. And then implicitly where not to look. And if you're doing the whole purity culture thing and the question, the answer is just, oh, no, because God says so. Well, that's not a satisfying answer. And so you're not telling them where to look. And because you're not telling them where to look, they got to find out where to look. And that's usually like Pornhub. That's bad. That's like worst case scenario. Or public school, which is worse. So never mind. That's worst case
Discord
scenario.
server.
Okay,
An untoward, unmonitored Discord server.
God, we keep getting to worst case scenarios, man. I don't like this.
We'll stop there.
Yeah.
We'll stop
all right.
Well, scenario spiraling there.
Well, like I said, we got through 17 minutes of the video. That's pretty good. That is not bad for 2 hours. That was fun.
Certified
yappers. But we got a lot talked about. That was a good one. If you have not, by the way, viewers and you, John, if you have not actually seen this interview, it is probably worth watching. It is pretty good. A lot of it is a little bit inane, but there are some interesting points and topics and whatnot, and so we certainly had a lot to talk about, like sort of jumping off from it. So you might have some more to look at. So I always like to recommend that people actually watch the things that we talk about. So do that. Anyway, that's all I got for tonight. So thanks for joining me, John. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, it's fun.
You guys watching.
Chat.
Thanks, chat.
I think it's just Baze and.
I think at this point it might just be Baze in the chat, but
it's Baze and Grace. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if Klaus is still around. He never gave you a reason for his name.
Fun site.
Yeah, he is in Discord, so you can ask him.
I'm sure.
Anyway, that's all we got. So, good night, everybody. I'll see you next time. The plan is once again back to my usual gaming streams. We might do some more of these React streams coming up soon too. I've got another one or two I'd like to respond to. It might be fun.
We still need to set up a time to have the conversation with the Wisecrack guy.
That's true. We ought to do that. I would like to do that.
He replied on your channel. Just
yes,
reach out
that
to
is true.
him.
I should reach out to him about that. You're right.
I'll have to watch that whole 3 hours again.
Well, I honestly, I will say, and maybe this is more off the stream discussion things, but maybe he'll watch this. Then again, it's been 2.5 hours, so maybe not. Understand? I want to talk to him about Kavanaugh's book, The Myth of Religious Violence, that I talked about a lot in that live stream, that I was surprised to find out that he read and appreciated. So interesting, because it intersects with a lot of his actual academic expertises, and it intersects with a lot of my academic expertises, and those are different things. Could be a really cool conversation. Anyway, I mean,
cool.
Anyway, so yeah, there is also, like I said, there's another couple of things I'd like to watch or read and respond to. There's that horrible Lord of the Rings article. There's another.
Oh yeah, we got to do that one still.
Yeah, there's another. Gay ex-Catholic who's not gay ex-trad. It's somebody else with a similar problem. I was recently sent another video about that we might want to check out. That could be fun. But stuff like that. Things to look forward to. Anyway, that's all I got. It's time to go. Good night, everybody. See you next time.
Bid you all adieu.
Bye-bye. And there we go. Bye-bye.
Hey.